On this Wednesday, April the 8th, the 26th day now that we've had no sports. It is also Passover, and in reading many different stories about it today, all I can say is there will not be your traditional Passover Seders. You will be doing them on Zoom or webinar or whatever you choose, whatever technology works for you. At least I hope that is the case. Everything I've read is please don't go. Gatherings, even the mayor said today, even gatherings of 10 are not what should be in the cards. Good afternoon, Brett. How are things in your neck of the woods?
They are well, Dave, and happy Passover to you and to yours and to all of the Jewish faith. And tomorrow would have been Maundy Thursday, and Friday Good Friday, and Sunday Easter, and we're all staying at home and trying to work through this, trying to, pardon the pun, pass through this. But a very nice Passover to you and yours. I know you will commemorate and celebrate at your home tonight with you and yours.
We normally when we have our seders, our gatherings, we discuss the plagues that were put forth on the Egyptians, and
we got a new one to talk about.
We've got a brand new one that is over all the world at this point, and that is for sure. We've got a busy show coming your way today at 3:30. As has been our procedures since the pandemic hit. We will be sort of news-oriented, and we have a terrific guest for you, Otis Sanford, who for years wrote for the Commercial Appeal, now a political writer for the Daily Memphian, also, I believe, still a professor of journalism at the University of Memphis. He'll join us at 3:30. Always we speak with our friend TJ Reeves on Wednesdays. He comes your way at 4 o'clock. The business of sports, there's not much business I guess we can really talk about, but he's always interesting. That'll be Rick Horrow from the NBC family of stations and the business professor at Harvard. Then at 5 o'clock, the newest member to be inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, which I learned today was established in 1966, so it's been around for quite a bit. D'Angelo Williams will join us at 5 to talk a little bit about the Hall, a little bit about the Tigers, a little bit about the NFL, and anything else he wants to talk about. He's Brett, seriously engaged in a bet with his wife as to whether or not he can get a 6-year-old by Friday to ride her bike without training wheels. And
I'm betting I'm betting on D'Angelo Williams.
I'm betting on D'Angelo Williams too. I don't think there'll be any doubt about that. At
been a pretty good bet.
We'll do crunch time. He is a good daddy. There is no question about that. I've been trying for a couple of days to get with him, and he's really been working with his daughter on all of this. We'll actually ask him, I think, about that as well. But that is the lineup for today.
There is this business note. We'll talk with Rick Horrow about a lot of things from sports. Today, Darren Ravel, he tweeted out Wimbledon reportedly paid $2 million a year for pandemic insurance for the last 17 years, so a total of $34 million. For this year's cancellation as a result of the coronavirus, Wimbledon reportedly will receive $141 million from the policy.
That was a very good investment on their part.
It sure was. That is being fully indemnified and then some, for sure. And also there was this tweet today, if all of the golf is played that we now have scheduled, we get the following within 360 days from August of 2020 through the end of July 2021. We'll get 2 PGAs at Harding and at Kiowa, 2 U.S. Opens at Wingfoot and Torrey, 2 Masters, an Open Championship, a British Open, a Ryder Cup, and an Olympics.
Do you think we get that?
That's a lot of golf.
It's a lot of golf, and will we
so.
get it? I hope so, too. I certainly have my doubts.
I almost see it to believe it.
In particular, the first one that's supposed to happen in Fort Worth at the end of May, I have a hard time believing that.
Well, that wasn't listed on that, but
yeah.
But of those listed that I just referenced, I think I got to see it to believe it in San Francisco, and I got to see it in at Wingfoot in Rye out at Mamaroneck.
Well, that would be in September, if I recall the revised schedule on that. So we'll see. I certainly hope we do have a significant amount of time between now and those dates for the U.S. Open. So let's just hope that it all the numbers show that it is safe. And I'm going to give some numbers in a little bit that would tell you we're certainly not there yet.
Yeah, and Dave, we have tried to highlight those that were very forward-thinking, like South by Southwest. I think it clearly saved lives. I think the Ivy League, when they moved it, when they did, and that was before, air quotes here, it was popular to move. It got very easy to move after the Rudy Gobert incident. But also on the political level, Governor Gavin Newsom in California, he issued a stay-at-home order when California had 675 cases. Governor Cuomo, he's done a good job, but he waited until New York had 7,000 cases. Gavin Newsom moved quickly. Remember, I remember the day you came in, and your sister had told you that they were stay at home.
I do. I remember that, and my sister, who is, I think I'd characterize her much more than me anyway, a rule follower. Much like my wife is. And she was going, we're going to do it. I don't think her husband totally did that, but she was really going to be doing it. And, it probably paid off a good amount for the Bay Area that they did act as quickly as they did.
All of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
All of California, rather.
Yeah. Because their numbers, when you look, are not by percentage as bad as some states.
That's right. And at 675, that was on top of things.
Oh, that was a move that, I think was probably initially met with some criticism. And now it would only be said what a good move in retrospect it was. I know this. I read today that Dr. Manoj Jain, who, of course, we've had on the air, we'll try to get him here in the next week or two. Manoj Jain was quoted as saying in a story today that he could not see the time yet when the safer at home policy would be lifted. We know it was extended through April the 21st now, but and Dr. Jain is the one that is counseling Mayor Strickland on all of this. He was quoted as saying, I cannot give you a specific time yet. We'll have to wait and see because we just don't know.
451 deaths in California, and with just that massive population.
True.
At the beginning of this, you sure would have thought more. By contrast, with that population compared to Louisiana, 652 deaths in Louisiana. No, I don't know. I don't know when or how it will end. I don't know if it'll be striving for 100% or not, but right now you look in the United States, we've got about a 3.5% fatality rate and about a 6% recovery rate.
Yep. And when you look at the different states, and I'm putting up my dashboard here, we're already at 1.5 million people now who have confirmed cases of COVID-19. So we've got 14 deaths in the United States. And in the city of New York, we've already had 62, almost 6,300 cases. I'm sorry, that's in the state of New York, almost 6,300. So
almost
Governor
half
Cuomo,
of the United States death.
Yeah, Governor Cuomo did wait. Now I've listened to him and I've heard his pleas and I've seen what he's tried to do, and I commend him on a lot of the things he's done. But you make a good point. He waited till there were how many cases? 7,000.
Yeah, and it was just a point of contrast and reference. It's not a criticism of him. It was more laudatory of Governor Newsom.
Yeah. So that's where we stand, and we'll give you these numbers here in just a couple of minutes. Sports news today. I guess the biggest news was Tom Brady went on Howard Stern for 2 hours. Now that is a heck of an interview. 2 hours long, hair laid bare. He let it all out. He said he was absolutely not at all resentful toward Bill Belichick. Just time.
He shouldn't be, should he?
To move on. And he was asked about the question that a lot of people ask. And, Howard Stern's not going to be afraid to ask any questions. And it was basically, do you think you could have done this without Bill Belichick? And he said Bill Belichick didn't go out there and execute the plays, pretty much.
That's right. It takes two to tango. It's very fair to point out how many championships did Bill Belichick won before he put number 12 in. 0.
I think that's
as a
fair.
head coach. He had not. And would Bill Belichick had won that with Drew Bledsoe? I don't know. Would Tom Brady had won that playing for the Cincinnati Bengals? I don't know. But together they were one hell of a combination.
They were. And now we'll maybe see, because Bill Belichick certainly has enough years left in him where he could be a coach for another 10, 15 years. And
yeah, it was a lot of information in that meeting, including we've got I don't know any other way to put it. It's the anatomical part of the body, a testicle news from Tom Brady, and he took a shot there where you don't want to if you're of male persuasion, and swelled to the size of an orange. That with yesterday's testicle news, always great to give the testicle news, isn't it, Dave? Yesterday, Adrian Beltre saying he played third base forever without wearing a cup.
Well, that's insanity right there.
It sure is. I got on a cup now doing this radio show.
Well, I haven't gone that far, although,
you should, Dave.
With some of the shots that you guys might give me, I might need it. But I can't imagine what Beltre was thinking about. I am not aware, so please enlighten what Brady had to say in the testicular vein.
I said it. He took a shot there, and after the game, it was swollen to the size of an orange.
Oh,
and just
wow.
the whole idea almost makes me need to take the rest of the day off.
So,
in commiseration for Tom Brady,
I'm assuming that was in a game where he just stayed in and gutted it out because it was an important game.
Of course, he gutted it out. He's TB12.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
But Adrian Beltre down at the hot corner.
Man.
Heck, if I were a bat boy in baseball, I'd have on a cup.
Well, I don't understand how you could play Major League Baseball,
I usually wear a cup to the
especially
games.
at that position. If you're an outfielder, I could understand it, but at third base, with the balls coming the way they are, I played third base. When I played third base, baby, a cup was on. I can assure you.
All right, Dave. and catcher, I mean, you need that ball almost as much as you need the mask.
Absolutely. I those are the two, catcher and third base. I can't believe
first base
Beltre
a little
did
bit
that.
too.
Yeah. Usually
you're a screamer from a left-handed batter.
True.
Or one off the end of the bat.
But
from a right-handed batter.
You're usually playing back unless it's for a bunt.
Yeah, but if you weren't paying attention, you got on top of it.
You always got to pay attention, my man. You always got to.
You move positions in the choir after that day.
Pay attention. Let's get to
we will.
Our stories of the day.
That's a great segue. And I know the sponsor loves that conversation right before we read their sponsorship. And our sponsor, of course, of this hour every day, Lexus of Memphis. Thank you so much. 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Yeah, we got your attention with testicle talk, didn't we? Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models and special lease options. If you ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, you will. Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look outstanding in one of those beautiful cars as well. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, these are the numbers that we are now getting through Shelby County's health department. We have 897 cases of the COVID-19 in the Shelby County area. We have 21 deaths now. That's basically 2.25% of the known cases thus far that have resulted in death. The rest of the state of Tennessee is at 1.6%. Williamson County in Nashville, in the Nashville area, is less than that. We'll get into possible reasoning for that in a second. 15 police officers now have tested positive. The mayor has said he will get more testing sites up that will drastically increase the number of tests. He wants to have additional 1,000 tests a day to what we have right now. He also said we could lose 20 to 25% of our sales revenue, which means that there will be a budget presentation in 2 weeks and that there will be a hiring freeze that will be coming. Shelby Farms, by the way, will be closed to vehicles for Easter Sunday. I mentioned the disparity, the differences between deaths and the percentages from this area and other parts of Tennessee, and we have now gotten a racial breakdown from the Shelby County Health Department. 68% of the cases that they have tested now, and because they didn't have total testing results, this is only 238 of the 897 cases. But of the racial breakdown, 68% of those 238 were among African Americans. When it came to the deaths here, and we're at the 71% of those were African American, 28% white. And I've heard many speculations as to why that could be, with some experts saying it's healthcare and our inability to get good enough healthcare into minority areas, predisposed illnesses, particularly cardiac. I think that was the vast majority. Most people think it's respiratory, but I read today hypertension and cardiac issues. If you are predisposed in those areas, that makes you more likely. At least so far, that's what they have seen in the data as it is getting broken down,
Dave,
more and more.
No doubt. I think we will, when we do the full examination of this, maybe even back to December, but for sure January and early February, deaths that for an older patient, you just put down cardiac arrest, it was probably COVID-19, almost 2.2 million tests in the United States, and now a test where you can get results back in 5 minutes.
Which I know the president was touting yesterday, that may be the most effective testing in the world now, and he was saying that other countries are contacting the United States as to how they've gotten this process time down to 5 minutes. In the U.S., 406,574 cases of COVID-19, 13,087 have passed away. The state of Tennessee, and this was about 1:45 today, 4,138 have the disease, 72 have passed. In Mississippi, they hit the 2,000 mark, 2,003, 67 have passed away. In Arkansas, 1,000. So and that's on the money, with 18 who have passed worldwide. And I'll give you the latest number now, as I've just gotten this thing up. 1.5 million, 1,505,115, and we're closing in on 88,000 total deceased. So it is scary for sure. 323,694 have recovered. That is good news. Actually, that's up to almost 340,000 now in China. The dashboard says 93% of the country that began it all have now recovered.
Yeah, 6% recovered in the U.S., about a 4% death rate. My top story, Mark Cuban, he's going to lose his June 1st under. When we talked about over-under starting before June 1, he took the under. He backed off of it pretty quickly. It won't be any NBA in the month of May. I said 2 weeks ago, the last Grizzlies game for the 2019-2020 season, it's been played at FedEx Forum. And I would bet maybe not any for the 2020 calendar year at FedEx Forum for the Grizzlies. It's going to be a while, and we reassemble in November, December. Would you go?
I would have to, and I don't mean to be passing the buck. I'm sincere about this. I'm not a doctor. I got a wife who's just mentioned earlier. She is a rule follower. I am going to go.
She's not a doctor either, though, is she?
No, but I'll tell you what she does. She's a good listener. And she's going to listen to Dr. Jane, and she's going to listen to Dr. Haushalter, and she's going to listen to Dr. Fauci. And what they say is really the way that we will go.
That's what I'm going to do.
I might listen to my Dr. Arthur Franklin. But the bottom line is I don't have the expertise to let you know. I certainly, this is the test for me. Would you send your children out to a gathering, a game? Would you send them today to go? For instance, if Major League Baseball did this thing, and I think in Arizona they've planned this, and I don't know if that's really going to work either. We'll get into that later. But
it's not going to.
Would you send your child, your wife, to one of those things? That's the pure test. I guess for you, I would say, would you send your nephew, Brett,
and their new babies,
or their new baby? Not a chance.
Not a chance. Not a chance until Gail's right, until that full medical lineup with doctor in front and all those credentials behind it. When they say good to go, I'm going to be for them. I would be safe rather than sorry. For me, I'm gonna wait till they tell me to go too, because it's just no need to play with fire.
Absolutely not. And I am getting the sense, because there is so much economically at stake for so many different parties. And I didn't think that I would say this when all of this began, but I do think there could come a time we're so hungry for sports, we are looking so badly for sports, and schools and entities will need economically the dollars that television brings in from sports, that we will have some sports that will just be empty stadiums. We're already seeing that with Dana White and UFC. He's going on April 18th. No one seems to be stopping him. And I guess he tests his fighters before they go out there. Pardon?
I won't stop him because I don't care.
Well, I'm just saying to you, I think there could be at some point where we would see the NFL or college football, because, again, I go back to 85% of Power 5 schools get their revenue from football, where I'm not going to say you're going to play a whole year, but I could see where if the numbers are going down, we're not getting any new coronavirus, we still don't have the virus, where it's in an empty stadium where every player who's going to play takes a test before, and they would try that. I don't think that would be for a long time, but I could see that being a logical eventual outcome without people.
Real quick, for FBS level, I'm with you on the 75 to 85%. What do you think is the lowest number out there for someone in FBS that the football toting the note is 60% for somebody maybe?
Well,
65, 70?
I think in a lot of cases football loses money because their budget goes out toward it. How much do they bring in? I'm talking about the revenue stream being brought in, which is an average of $120 million per Power 5.
Profit margin.
Yeah,
I got you.
I'm just talking about sheer revenue. I'm not talking about profit. I'm talking about what's the revenue stream coming in, and what I have read pretty reliably here is that is $120 million for an average Power 5 school. Now that's everything. That's all the television money. That's all the gates. That's everything.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with any money going out, including salary.
Do you think anybody totes the note on basketball in FBS that play FBS football out of 130? You think any of them? Because I know Gonzaga does, and I know Georgetown does, but they don't play FBS football.
No. Well, I can tell you for a lot of years, Memphis was able to compete at a high level because basketball was bringing in a lot of money. All you have to do is ask John Calipari about that. When Memphis's football team was awful, and they weren't drawing any, you look at the Larry Porter era. Oh my goodness, that program was eating up money. There was nobody coming. The season tickets had gotten under 10,000, and what do you think was at that last Larry Porter game? That last home game?
Not many.
2,000, 3,000?
Just a few more than it'll be at Dana White's event.
Yeah. Well, Dana White, I don't think he's going to have a crowd, but he's going to have a pay-per-view audience that will make him money. And that's why he's going to do it. And these schools will need the television revenue, the dollars that are coming in. They're not going to make the kind of money that they used to make, but at least it will help offset all those salaries. When you're paying Jimbo Fisher $7.5 million a year, you've got to make some money.
You're talking about state budgets, and around here in Memphis, people are going to really be scrambling. How would you like to be one of the oil revenue or oil reliant states like Oklahoma and Texas, and you've had COVID-19 and the plunge in the oil markets, and it's state legislature budget time? Whew, that's going to be a Donnybrook.
And the plunge in the
and state law of a balanced budget.
Plunge in oil that destroyed the market yesterday after it was having a historic rally. So, man, yeah, we know all that for sure. And I guess I will point out the market today up almost $800. $780. We're at $23,433. I'll tell you what. Let's save that for a little bit later in the program because we are flat out of time. And those are your top stories. We'll get to not as we get through the day. We're going to take a quick time out. When we return, we will be joined by Otis Sanford from the Daily Memphian and the University of Memphis. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
This is Eli Savoy from Sports 56 Middays. During this coronavirus pandemic, all of us at Sports 56 urge you to please stay home, practice social distancing, and wash your hands often. While you're home, stay connected with Sports 56. Turn on Sports 56 on your radio, computer, phone, or smart speaker and stay up to date and connected through us. This is a tough time for all of us, but we'll get through it with everyone doing their part. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay connected with Sports 56 and Sports56WHBQ.com.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
At Ace, we always have been and always will be committed to our local communities because we're here to help others. So in this time of need, your local Ace remains open. And since we're in your neighborhood, we can deliver almost anything you need. So shop in store or online for the home or yard products you're looking for and choose from top brands like Steel, Ego, Toro, and Scotts. Then you can pick up in-store, curbside, or we'll deliver your order right to your door. Help is just around the block. See acehardware.com for details.
If you're a pro, Lowe's knows how hard you work every day. So it's important that others are working hard for you. We're here to help with the supplies you need to make critical repairs and the products your customers need to keep their homes safe and healthy during this important time. From our convenient curbside loading to spring savings on the products you need most, our focus is to help keep your business moving forward. Lowe's is pro-ready, and we thank you for all you do.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes, always for free. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Shelby Forest General Store, Let It Fly, Moon Dance Grill, Great Wines, Germantown Wines and Liquors, Corks Wines and Liquors. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. We cruise through our very first hour. Otis Sanford from the Daily Memphian, scheduled to join us. I was reading the text line, and a guy asked, who was the best third baseman in baseball history? I guess that came from our discussion about cups and Beltran not using one. And your answer, which, by the way, I tried to text back. This is how limited my technology abilities are. I wrote it down, and for some reason it didn't go through. But I agree. I would say the texter's choice was Brooks Robinson, and then you said or Mike Schmidt, and those would be my top two right there.
And that would be where I would start with the debate. There are a lot of good ones, but that's where I would start the debate. Brooks Robinson, not near the batsman of Michael Jack Schmidt, but a good batsman and a good RBI guy. And we talked about it with Al Kaline. Clutch, great hitting behind the runner and then at third base. I mean,
he was.
But Mike Schmidt was a really good defensive third baseman.
And then sentimentally, I've got to throw Ron Santo in there.
Ron Santo really good, for sure.
Best Cardinal third baseman? A Boyer, maybe?
Defensively, I think Terry Pendleton.
The
total package, probably Kenny Boyer or Scott Rowland.
It is a real honor at this point to bring in Otis Sanford, who now writes for the Daily Memphian. You longtime reporter for the and editor, I believe, for the Commercial Appeal, and a professor of journalism at the University of Memphis. Good morning, Otis, or good afternoon, I should say. We thank you so much for being on with us today. And let's start from
good afternoon.
Let's start from a journalistic approach. This pandemic for Shelby County, in particular, the biggest story of your and my lifetime.
Oh, no question about it. No question about it. I've been around 60, it'll be 67 years
Hang on, Otis.
Next week.
Wow. Wait. When's your birthday?
It's April 23rd.
Wow, I'm April 20th, and that'll be my 67th. We are
Oh,
very
wow.
close.
3
How about
days
that?
apart.
Right there, simpatico.
How about that?
Yeah. How about that? But yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, we've lived through 9/11. We've lived through the Vietnam War and assassinations and the civil rights movement and all of that. But I don't know of any sustained single story that has so fundamentally changed our lives as this right now, and we don't know where and how it ends.
No expiration date, Otis, and it came on us so fast. Most of us, a lot of us, were living the good life on March 10th. I kind of used the Rudy Gobert moment on March 11th as the demarcation, as the Maginot line of sorts. I mean, the economy was as good as it's ever been. Stock market was at 29,000. Gas was at $2. It was high old times, and in a blink of an eye, we're wondering about our neighbors. We're wondering about ourselves, and no expiration date on it, Otis.
Well, that's absolutely, Brett. And again, you just enumerated all of the things that were just percolating right along. I mean, the only thing that we were really worried about or talking about or even fighting about was, impeachment or the election. But other than that, I mean, we were moving right along. We were enjoying a surprisingly wonderful Grizzlies basketball season. Of course, the Tigers basketball kind of hit a real bumpy road there. But again, we were sort of living life pretty well there, and all of a sudden, it just sort of stopped, and it just cascaded down. Again, there is no other story that I know of that has so fundamentally changed us like this one in my lifetime.
And as you said, no expiration, but always twists and turns. Each day there's a new story, whether it's the healthcare system or whether it's the economy. And today is the breakdown racially, where we are finding that 68% of the cases that we know we've had true tests in Shelby County are from African Americans. 71% of the death rate has come from their cases, 28% from the whites. And we're all sitting here, and I'm listening to different people trying to figure out what is the reason for that. I'm certain that's something that you are looking at. What is your hunch on why that is?
Well, I mean, you're right. As a matter of fact, part of my column, or a lot of my column for the Daily Memphian tomorrow is focusing on that. I just think it is just symptomatic of the long-standing issues around lack of access to health care by a lot of African Americans. Dave, it's also an issue about poorer health. Higher rates of diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease. Those rates are much higher in African American people than others. And then again, access to health care, the lack of testing is a big issue here, and so it all of those factors enter into it. And again, we're finding out that that's the case here in Memphis. But we found out earlier, a couple of days ago, that it was the case in Chicago. It's the case in Detroit, where I used to live.
Yep.
It's certainly the case in New Orleans. We're finding out that this is the case where African Americans are far more impacted than anybody else.
And Otis, once again, we see how we were talking about the high old times before it all hit. It was real wide, but sadly, it wasn't very deep, and it wasn't very deep for a lot of people, too many people. And I don't know why we can't spend the money on the African American community, on everyone, on preventative maintenance, to be able to go to a doctor and have a hypertension test, to be able to head off something at the past, to have that preventative maintenance that so many other parts of the world that they do and that we don't. And I think back to all that money, those bales and bales, literally cotton bale size bales of $100 bills dropped into the SUNY Triangle in 03, 04, and 05 to try to get them to like us. If we had spent half of that on some preventative maintenance measures for our own community and communities for health care, we wouldn't have this scab torn off.
Brett, you are right on the money. But then you're bringing up a political issue here that this country has wrestled with for decades. We've always had a problem, a difference of agreement about access to health care. Going back to the classes I teach at the University of Memphis, we have, on a regular basis, we have foreign students in the class. I've got two this semester, one from Germany and one from the Great Britain. I've had students from other countries in my class, and they come over here and they say, we just don't have those kinds of fights and issues about health care. We have access to health care. But that's one of the big issues that we have always fought over. And as long as we continue to fight over it, the lesser of those among us will always be at the bottom of the list. And you just nailed it.
Let us hope that this is a lesson that we learn and that we change that pattern of behavior. You mentioned teaching and what you have now in class, which I'm assuming is all online. Otis, what do you think the effect this pandemic will have on the future, really, of colleges and teaching? Do you think we will see campuses get smaller and that online teaching will become bigger?
I do. Online teaching has already grown exponentially as it is. I mean, we've been teaching online for years and years, some classes. I've been teaching online almost since I got to the university in 2011. The Department of Journalism was one of the first ones to do a lot of classes online, especially in our grad program, where we have students in our grad program from other cities, and they take all of their courses online. But it's not the norm for me. I mean, I like a classroom setting. I
do too.
Being in there with students, including your son once upon a time.
And he loved your class.
Like
he did.
Oh, man, he was great. I think he took two of them from me, I believe.
I think he did. I've often wondered this, and from your perspective, do you think you are as good a teacher online as you are in class?
No, I do not. No, I do not. And that's why I don't necessarily like the online class as much as I do. I do the best I can, Dave, but I like being in the classroom with the students. I like, even though I can look them eye to eye on Zoom,
Yeah.
so that's what we're using right now, but it's still not the same. They can be distracted because they're at home. It's just it's a makeshift kind of thing. But to answer your original question, yes, I do think that there will be more online classes. I do think that one of the likely fallouts of this will be that universities get smaller. That does not bode well for the financial health of universities. So we're talking about a lot of factors here. Dr. Rudd has already announced that every class this summer for the university will be online. So this is portending some big changes, and it may not all be positive changes going forward for not just for U of M, but every university.
And Otis, Memphis a little bit insulated from it because while the University of Memphis is so very important, FedEx up there, the medical community way up there, and the University of Memphis is very important, but it is not the college town like a lot of the SEC places, like your alma mater, like Ole Miss. If you have the downsizing of enrollments and real brick and mortar, going to the Lyceum and going to Ventress and going across campus, what it would do to property rates in those towns, I don't think we can imagine what the home values will do.
That's exactly right. And, most universities in the SEC are in college towns.
Itty-bitty towns.
The university controls everything, that maybe except for maybe Nashville. But the others, you mentioned it, Oxford, Starkville, and Fayetteville, and Tuscaloosa, and Auburn. They are college towns, and if they start to dry up in terms of people being there, that will be a huge, huge blow to the economic well-being of those towns. And that's absolutely true.
Let's get back to Memphis here for just 1 minute. We're speaking with Otis Sanford from the Daily Memphian and journalism of professor at the University of Memphis. I watched you and Richard Ransom on many of your shows this past election year, talking about the mayors and the mayor race and everything of that nature. Give me your assessment of the way Mayor Strickland and Mayor Harris have operated during this time of crisis.
I have to say, Dave, that I thought, and I still think, that Mayor Strickland has done a really good job of getting out in front of this crisis and showing some commendable leadership. And I'll say the same thing right now for Mayor Harris. I have to say, in all honesty, that he got off to a little late start just because of the trip that he took to Ghana. And I'm not trying to be overly critical there. That's just a matter of fact. He was out of the country when this thing really, really, really started here in this county. And so he had to catch back up by the time he got back here. But in terms of the response, the what they did, especially Mayor Strickland for Memphis, in terms of safer at home orders, the shutting down of the restaurants and bars, and just taking a proactive approach to try to deal with this, I'm very commendable of how he and Mayor Harris have handled this recently.
I guess one of the last questions for you would be, as we see we're about to hit a bump, do you have in your gut, and I know it's sheer speculation, how long you think this this period of uncertainty, maybe fear, will prevail? Do you have any sense when we might get back to normalcy?
I have absolutely none, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of like everybody else. I was already a voracious consumer of news, as you well know, long before this. But I'm consuming everything that I can right now, trying to stay abreast of it, certainly for my own health and well-being and my family's. But everything that I look at here, I just don't know. All of it does depend on how we abide by the demands right now to shelter in place, to do social distancing, to not take this for granted and think it's over when it's not. We have to continue doing all those things, understanding that by doing them, we are hurting our economy. We are, my favorite restaurants are closed right now. My older kids are struggling because, one of them's a musician and he can't work because there are no places to go and perform. And so he is in fear. So I have no idea when this is over. The only thing I can do is hope and pray that it'll be over as soon as possible.
I'm into that. I relate to everything that you've just said, and now I know why. We're 3 days apart in growing up. Did you grow up in Detroit? I grew up in Chicago. Were you from Detroit originally?
No. I grew up actually just south of here in Mississippi. Brett just mentioned I'm an Ole Miss guy. So I grew up about 30 miles from Oxford in Panola County, down in Como and Sardis, and spent most of my time early when I graduated from Ole Miss. I went to Jackson, came to Memphis, had been in Memphis for years. Then I went to Pittsburgh and then Detroit, and came back here from Detroit.
Well, you are
I'm a Southerner.
You are a treasure. We thank you so much. We'll be reading you every
We
day,
sure do.
and we certainly hope you and your family stay healthy.
Well, thank you. Same to you and yours. And Brett, I'm a big fan of. I listen to the show all the time when I'm not in school or not in class. So I'm a big fan of Dave Voloshin and Brett Northworthy. Thank you both.
Thank you,
we
Otis.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Very kind.
That
Very
is
kind.
All right.
That is Otis Sanford. We
What
take a
good
break.
guy. What a good guy. I want him to come see me at football next year.
Oh,
Hope we have football, and he
Boy.
can come by and see me pregame.
I hope that can happen. I truly, truly do. I know we got to take a break. That's going to happen. We're back in a minute to put a wrap on hour number one on this Wednesday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
Upgrade your commute at Acura of Memphis. Seize the thrill and test drive one of our award-winning models, each packed with cutting-edge technology, luxurious amenities, and a driving experience that's sure to awaken your inner self. Driving shouldn't be a chore, it should be an adventure. Advance your drive today, shop our aggressive lease and finance options now. Luxury is waiting at Acura of Memphis, or shop online 24/7. Visit AcuraofMemphis.com.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches, 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper, 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase, and 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
This is Joanne Jenkins, CEO of AARP. The coronavirus continues to affect us all, and we are here actively supporting you and your community. Every day, we're providing trusted information from top health experts, sharing tools to help protect families from fraud, and creating resources to support family caregivers everywhere. As always, you can count on AARP to advocate for you and your family. Join us and stay connected at aarp.org/coronavirus.
I'm Dr. George Flynn, president of Flynn Broadcasting. On behalf of everyone associated with Flynn Broadcasting, we want to wish you good health, especially in this coronavirus situation. You can be the hero. All you have to do is practice social distancing. That's right, 6 feet away from other people, and you'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Also, if you feel ill and have a cough or fever, get tested. so you'll know if you have coronavirus or not. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting. We'll keep you connected while you maintain your physical social distance. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station, because we're in this fight with you, and we're going to help you stay connected.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochen and Brett Norsworthy.
Wow, that was insightful, and Oda Sanford said some things that I am fearful of. I think the colleges, as we know them, may change drastically, and more online stuff, and shrinking of campuses, and
And Dave, when it does that, shrinking of faculty, and that will be an effect on a campus that would be catastrophic.
The trickle-down effect from this pandemic is certainly
it's going to get everybody.
It is going to change a lot of things. We just don't really know to the extent and how many different things, but it's going to change a lot of things for a good period of time, and maybe some that will be permanently that way. It's just hard to figure.
We are going to get through it. We are going to have happy days again. We are going to celebrate again. We're going to be happy again. We're going to live our lives again, but it will be different.
It'll be different, much the way travel, say, was after 9/11. I mean, that drastically changed. We got used to those changes. Life and the world as we know it were different, and I've got the feeling there will be. I just don't know how many different ways we will be living a different life after we come back to some normalcy from this pandemic. Why don't we now give the
not top story of the day?
And mine is, it's not a bad story, it's an interesting story is what it is, and that is the bat used by Lou Gehrig dating back to 1922. Went for a whopping...
And it was a big old piece of wood, wasn't it?
It was, I did. And it went for
that shillelagh.
$1,025,000. Now, you know why this bat
was... we should add that in the attic.
Oh, I know. You know why this bat was so important and why it fetched such a price? It actually didn't get the price, and somebody who was private who understood actually went back to the auctioneer and bought it later at a price because it didn't reach, I think they wanted $965. This was the bat that he sent to Hellenrich and Bradsby, H&B, those are the people that make Louisville Sluggers.
Louisville Slugger.
And he sent that bat to them because that was the one he wanted to use as a model for all the other bats that he made for him. So this was the original that he sent to the Louisville Slugger people, and therefore it had a major value to it.
Larapin Lou, the Iron Horse, former Columbia Lion, he could get the bat he wanted. My not top story, it's gotten ugly in Minneapolis. Kevin Garnett and the owner of the T-Wolves, they may have a relationship that can't be fixed. The quotes make it clear. I can't repeat the words used by Kevin Garnett in the quotes. The Timberwolves, mostly a joke of a franchise, 31 years of nothing, but KG leads them in 24 different all-time team rankings. They've been to 9 playoffs, 1 conference finals appearance, and 8 first-round exits.
Yeah, I know he's very upset with them.
Did you see the words?
Yeah. I don't know why he's so mad at him.
He's mad at Glenn Taylor, the owner.
Yeah, he sure is.
He called him a snake, blinkety blank, blank, blank.
Yeah,
blank, blank.
That might be one of those number retirement ceremonies when the guy's like 70, Time heals all wounds.
Or when Glenn Taylor sells.
Or when he sells or he's no longer with us. One of those two. That really was.
But Glenn Taylor's one of those guys. He was old when he was young. I mean, he's really old now.
How old is Glenn Taylor?
I don't know, but he doesn't look good.
No,
he moves slowly.
Let's see. Glenn Taylor is 78 years old.
I would have bet the over.
Yeah, he looks older than that. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Those are your not top stories of this day. It's been an interesting day. And, Drew Brees. I like listening to Drew Brees, and I totally appreciate the fact that he gave $5 million to the cause to help out the people affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in the New Orleans area. But Drew was on Ellen today, and he basically said, I think we need sports right now. And I don't see how that's possible.
Love it. I would love it 10 minutes ago. I would love it 10 minutes from now. I'd take it 10 days from now. I don't see that happening, and I think everybody, if they will prepare themselves, not to be doom and gloom, but just to ready themselves that we're going to go a little longer. Mark Cuban, in an interview today, now says he thinks that sports will return in early June, but just with TV and no fans.
Well, that model could only work probably if they did it as they're talking about in one location, everybody in the same sort of hotel getting totally tested like a biodome, right? And they go from that hotel across a tunnel to the ballpark. The gym, really. I don't know. I don't see any other way to do it in that sort of time frame. And again, are you going to test everybody right before you do it? Lots of questions to be answered. That's an hour in the books. When we come back, our friend TJ Reeves down in Tampa. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Okay, Marcus commercial, take one.
With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs no penalty CD. Wait, there's a typo. A no penalty CD? That can't be right.
No, that's right. No penalties. All right, take two.
With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs no penalty CD, you get a fixed rate of 1.7%. 1.7%?
Let's just get through the script, okay? Take three.
With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs no penalty CD, you get a fixed rate of 1.7% on your money. There are no penalties if you withdraw your balance early. Come on, man. Even if you withdraw your balance early?
Look, if you're not going to read the script, I could just do it myself.
Okay. With a Marcus by Goldman Sachs no penalty CD, you get a fixed rate of 1.7% for 7 months on your money. There are no penalties if you withdraw your balance early and you keep the interest you earned. Wow, really?
Yes.
Sign up for a no penalty CD today. You can money with Marcus by Goldman Sachs. Learn more at marcus.com.
$500 minimum balance required to earn stated annual percentage yield, which may change before account is funded. May withdraw full balance beginning 7 days after funding. Rates as of March 20th, 2020. Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and sale, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Shelby Forest General Store, Let It Fly, Moon Dance Grill, Great Wines, Germantown Wines and Liquors, Corks Wines and Liquors, Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. Wolo and Stats with you. On a day we've got, I guess the news really is about the racial breakdown of the COVID-19 breakdown here, where 71% of the deaths in Shelby County, now this is not all the cases, but the ones that they could test and get enough of that information from came from the African-American population. 28% came from the white population. I am stunned. When I set out to do a lot of my research, I usually start doing this about 1:30 to 2. I want to get the facts from the dashboard. And, Brett, we're actually up in, 4 o'clock now? In basically 2.5 hours, there have been 100,000 plus more cases of coronavirus in that time period. That to me is amazing. We've gone up in the United States today, 25,397 so far. That's 6 1/3% of the cases are up.
This is what we were warned about.
Yeah, exactly.
This week and next. And look, those modelers and those statisticians at that level, they might miss from time. They do miss from time to time. Originally the first number in late February, early March was 2 million. Just last week it was 240,000. Now it looks like it's going down because of this. That is something to celebrate. It's not to denigrate nervous Nellies, ring the fire alarms too soon. No, it's going down because the fire alarms got pulled.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. I'm going to look here. Yeah, no, I'm not. It is here we go. In the state of Florida today, 15,456 cases. They're up almost 5% from what they were a day ago. I give you the Florida population. That helps me to bring in our friend in Tampa, TJ Reeves, who's hunkered down in his house with his wife and his 2 twin daughters. TJ, how are you guys holding up today?
We are hanging in there. Good to be with you guys, and we're hoping that we're going to see some optimism here over the course of the next couple of weeks. I mean, I know what Brett just said. I heard you guys while waiting on hold there. No one is trying to minimize the seriousness of the situation, but by the same token, we are now on week 4 of everybody isolate, everybody social distance, stay home, the whole bit. And we have to have something to hang on to. You have to have some hope that all of this will begin to resume. And the president's talked about this, and there are others that have been talking about this. And so I think the key word, and I've said this one other place, I'm going to be doing some podcast stuff as well. The key word is reasonable or reasonably. When can we reasonably resume here? That's the important thing, and that's what these sports leagues are looking at. I think golf took a look at it. I was listening to you guys when the PGA Tour was making their announcement a couple days ago about their new schedule, and the key part is they're going to try to do this June to start with the resumption because they believe it's reasonable at that point. That's reasonably when it's a good target time to start, not May. Again, baseball is kicking around the idea of May. How reasonable is that? To me, that is monumental. We can talk more about that in a second. That is monumental to have 30 teams in the same area and try to play a nonstop, multiple games every day in multiple locations regular season in that same area for a prolonged period of time. What's reasonable? How reasonable is it, and how long would you be there? So again, we're all looking for hope. We're all looking for things that we can hang our hat on. The NFL is going to do the draft in a week or so. here, actually about 2 weeks, and do it all through virtual technology and do it all through video conferencing, and it's going to be different. I was having a conversation today with my Buccaneer bosses about how we're going to pull off the radio broadcast and try to integrate with the announcement of draft picks and those kind of things and do our draft show that normally would be at Raymond James Stadium with several thousand people attending in our part of the stadium, the draft party that I have hosted for the last 6 years. We're not doing that. It's going to be TJ sequestered, stay home.
Yeah.
And we're trying to work this out and figure this stuff out. But we got to have, my point is, we got to have some things that we can hope for. And there's some short-term things that we can't hope for, guys.
Let me go back to baseball because I read a lot of dissenting opinion today from players who are going, in the middle of a pandemic, do I want to leave my wife and my young children for 4 months to be sequestered in a hotel and then go to a ballpark? I don't. First of all, I know they wanted to start this in May. We're at April 8th already. I know in the city of Memphis, you're not supposed to be out unless it's for essential needs till minimum of April 21st. There's no gatherings that are allowed, and even with a baseball team,
right.
that's 40 guys right there. So how in the world can they possibly get it done, one, that quickly? Two, what do you think the percentage of players would really want to do that?
And remember, you guys know this because you talk a lot of baseball on your show, arguably the toughest players association in the labor situations with the owners is the Major League Baseball Players Association to get anything done and how they go about it. So it's got to go through them. And I think the key components are you're going to have testing for all that are there and constant retesting depending on what happens if somebody tests positive while we're doing it at any of these different sports leagues? What is our proactive plan if that happens? Because, again, you could start your regular season. This is obvious, but it bears stating. You start your regular season, and let's say it's the Cardinals, or heaven forbid, we'll ocean your Cubs, or my Rays, and somebody has the coronavirus that's on the team. How is anybody going to want to play that team, hypothetically, in a game?
Well, they won't be able to.
And how can you? So you got to have those things worked out. Then, like you said, what is the long-term plan? Are you going to try to play the entire season under this scenario, or are you hoping in June, the first week in June, the second week in June, the first week in July, whenever it is, to go back to home sites and begin to play in empty stadiums at that point? I haven't heard that articulated. What's the overall plan besides just starting in Arizona, guys? That's what I need to know more of.
And TJ, I just have such a lack of faith in Rob Manfred. A week before that, Adam Silver basically proposed the same thing for the NBA, and I complimented it and thought it was forward thinking, outside the box. And then Rob Manfred kind of suggests the same thing. The NBA was more Las Vegas, Major League Baseball, the Phoenix Scottsdale area. I just have so little faith in him for him to think it all the way through. And then what if players get hurt? What if even if it's a relaxation of it, do you ever let family come in and get inside the bubble?
Yep. Those are all things that you have to think about, that they are thinking about logistically. Again, much more difficult for baseball because you have literally thousands of games to be played in their season if they're going to try to do a full season, depending on when you start and how much you're going to try to play before you get to your postseason. It's simpler, and Gary Bettman mentioned this yesterday on a podcast with Mike Tirico for NBC Sports. It's looking like, at least in their scenarios, they're not going to try to finish their regular season. So will they just declare the playoffs with the 8 teams in each conference as they are when everything froze? Will they shorten the playoffs? This is me saying this and speculating. I have no idea. Will they shorten the playoffs and maybe make it only 4 teams per conference to keep it simpler and to not be as unfair to the teams that were hovering right around the 7th or the 8th spot because they didn't get to play their way in or out in the last few games, whereas the teams 1 through 4 were safely in? I know 5 would gripe. Team 5 would gripe if that's the case. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's easier for the NHL and the NBA to simply go with the postseason with fewer teams and may have to knock back their games. I mean, the NHL.
Well, number 8 will gripe in Memphis.
Right. The number 8 team is Memphis, so obviously they would be very upset about that right now. But the other thing is, do you knock back from best of 7, which is what everybody plays now, and instead play best of 3 or best of 5? How do you make that work? It will be easier for hockey, obviously, and basketball because there's fewer teams. The baseball thing is it's Godzilla. It's like a Godzilla family reunion on how you schedule all this and how you play all of it.
Well, they have different models that I have seen. There's no way they're going to play 162 games. They have a 100-game model, a 132-game model, taking in where you would still play other divisional opponents the majority of the time. And I have no idea how this will work. To me, the whole question, has to do with like tests. You mentioned, well, you have to test each guy, each time. Do we have enough tests now that we can do that? Or we got those 5-minute tests in such ready availability that we're going to give those to pro sports teams, while our mayor is saying he wants at least 1,000 additional tests for Memphians right now? I mean, and this isn't that far away. He wanted to start this in basically 3 weeks.
Right, and you got to figure it all out. And how does it look? How are the optics on this? Is professional sports really that much more important here in the near term over the next 2 or 3 weeks or next month with all that we're dealing with? That's another thing that these leagues have to consider. But again, from baseball standpoint, I could foresee in whatever scenario that you're doing this for the first month of whenever you begin to try it, with the idea that everything opens up and you can go back to your markets. But I mean, right now, this thing is much different in New York. That situation in New York on a daily basis is much different. I cannot fathom how a New York team would be trying to play with anything remotely like what's going on, especially in and around New York City, where the Mets and the Yankees would be playing. So that's another. Let's go through
a couple places, TJ. You got Mets and Yankees. We can understand what they would be concentrated on. Other things, Detroit with the Tigers, Chicago with 2 teams, Cubs and White Sox,
and it's bad in Chicago.
Very bad. The California teams with the 2 Bay Area teams and the Dodgers and San Diego, more Southern California. The Diamondbacks, they're right there. They're kind of in the eye of the storm. They're talking about the wave, the peak really hitting the state of Texas mid-May. Well, that would be Rangers and Astros. Well, heck, without even thinking, I just went through a third of the sport.
Right. Well, and you also you were mentioning the Florida numbers. The highest concentration in Florida is in South Florida, in Southeast Florida, where Miami and Fort Lauderdale. That's where most of the cases are. In Broward and Dade County, that's Miami, and in Fort Lauderdale, and then Palm Beach and Palm Beach County. That's where virtually 75 to 80% of the cases are right now in the entire state. I mean, fortunately, I'm in an area in West Central Florida, which, Wolo, you've been to many times, and a lot of the listeners are familiar with because Memphis has been playing games here, football, basketball, in the conference on and off for 25 years. We're fortunate. There's 2.5 million people that live in the 5-county area of Tampa Bay, and in our area we have fewer than 2,000 cases. All right, but you go to New York City with the tens of thousands of people that are dealing with this, and thousands of people that are critical and or dying. That's a totally different ball game on how do you contemplate and when do you contemplate playing games. I get it. We have to get to the point where it's reasonable, because this is another important thing too. I think enough voices need to be positive about this. We were operating, and we cannot operate for weeks to come, months to come, the rest of this year, on what if somebody around me possibly has it. If we do that, we're never going to go back into public. We were all around this in January and February and early March. Wolo, you know this. You were traveling relentlessly with Memphis in airports.
Dave was in New Orleans
and at hotels.
I was.
There
right
are
after
millions of
Mardi Gras. I was there, and it really dawned on me because
and millions and millions and millions of people that were traveling every which direction in January and February and March, and you were around this. You were around people that had it, that didn't realize they had it. I mean, this is part of what we're going to have to face. We're going to resume at some point, and you just have to take the reasonable assumption you're probably going to be around some people that have it. And hopefully you practice good hygiene and you don't end up getting it. And if you do, there's treatment if you do. Otherwise, we're never going to leave. And I know you guys know this, and I'm not trying to over-exaggerate, but we were all around it. All of those NBA teams that were traveling on the same charter planes and playing against each other, and the announcers and they were all around it and did not realize until it began to become too late that they had it and were around it. It's going to be the same thing again, and it's the same thing with any other virus. You're going to be around people that have it, and you're not going to be.
I got a question for you two.
To have an automatic test for it. Go ahead, guys.
Can you tell me? Because I can. Mine was Friday the 13th at a good restaurant in Forest City, a good friend of mine. Can y'all tell me the last hand you shook and the person it was?
Yeah, it's been a while, I think, for all of us.
No, I can't tell.
Probably been since early March, right?
Yeah,
at least. It's a good point. It's a good point. We were meeting in church that first weekend in March when all of this was out everywhere, and we were doing elbows for the greeting. And we didn't have masks on. We didn't know whether we were supposed to have masks on or not. We were doing elbows. So we were doing like the elbow one instead of the high five.
The last real
with
social
the good point you make.
The last real social thing that I did, and we've mentioned it on the air, was the gathering the night before all the games got canceled in Fort Worth of most of the
Rudy Gobert night.
Most of the AAC announcers. And we were at a bar, and we greeted each other with the elbow bumps. That's probably the last real social sort of contact thing that we made. So the world has changed even more since that, but we sort of had the inkling, and it was at that particular gathering that the news came out about Rudy Gobert, and then, of course, changed everything. TJ, back to the baseball thing. Every model that I've seen, and I was even talking with Bob Carpenter. We're going to have him on the air probably next week. And the voice of the Nationals was saying that, what they were talking about would be, announcers probably wouldn't travel with teams for at least a while. And if they did this thing in Arizona, the assumption was you were going to sort of be separate from the team and you were going to be there for the duration of the season.
Well, interesting, on how they would broadcast games, because, again, you're doing this mostly for television.
Right.
I have believed and have talked about for a long time, it's not just my thinking, that sports has so moved to the television and the television revenue that the in-house attendance is almost an afterthought, an additive. It is so much less of a percentage of your revenue, especially for football, especially in the NBA, that it's more essential for hockey, let's say. Baseball has had in-house attendance problems for over a decade with declining attendance. Now, in the biggest of cities, we've talked about this numerous times, your Cubs, Stats, your Cardinals, the Yankees, the Braves in their new stadium, the Dodgers, they're always going to have attendance. Got it. But for another 15 of them besides those that I named, they struggle to have in-house attendance. So what you really cater to is the television revenue. So these games being televised, even if there's an empty stadium, that's the real carrot, that's the real appeal, and mostly we will have people watching, even if it's not your team, because it's something to watch. It's something else that's on. So it's going to be very much television-based, but I'm curious, like you are, like you're hinting there, Wolo, how are they going to broadcast these games? How do you broadcast all of them? Are the announcers maybe in a separate location that are calling them off the monitor as we go along, if that's what you have
like
to
the
do?
Olympics.
That was
like a lot of Olympic sports.
That was the sense. And we've seen that with ESPN a lot over the last couple of years, where you'll see a setup with cameras and everything, and there's no talent because they're in Bristol in a little tiny shoebox of a studio. And I did a bunch of kickboxing years ago from those studios where it's all set up and you're doing it off the monitor. And that was the sense that he got, was he might be in Washington doing those things.
Right. And like Stats mentioned, they've called the Olympics for many years out of broadcast centers in New York or elsewhere. with different events. So this can be done. It may have to be part of the technology. And again, one thing I keep coming back to, right now we're at April the 8th. We're at April the 8th, especially if we're talking about the football season. There's no one that knows about June, much less August, much less October right now on April the 8th. So we will continue to go day by day and live in the moment, but we don't have to make decisions on what's not going to happen on April the 8th. Let's just begin to figure things out as we go along, and hopefully it gets better. And again, I'm encouraging in my own household and everybody else that you were around this before. We got to take reasonable precautions, but you got to be reasonable with the fact you're going to be around it again when you venture out. You just are. There's too many people, too much free movement. Otherwise, you're never going to leave your house. You're never going to leave the figurative cower in the corner situation if you're going to be almost paralyzed by what's going to happen if I go out and somebody's around me.
Hey, TJ, first time I've been mad at Tom Brady since he's been a Buccaneer. How come the first big interview wasn't to TJ Reeves instead of this Howard Stern guy?
Are you saying that
Come on,
Howard
Brady.
Stern interview might have carried a little more weight than a TJ Reeves interview?
Not with me.
I am not. I'm saying not with me,
He was on
TJ.
for 2 hours this morning talking to Howard Stern about everything, and one of the most hilarious moments, I don't know if you covered this before I got on, was they were trying to do the interview on Zoom, which Zoom has become everybody's second nature now to meet and see everybody and talk, and it froze up, and I think it was Howard Stern's line where he said, we got to get Jeter an upgrade on the Wi-Fi at the place you're renting here that we can't use the Zoom. So I was going to joke with you guys, you don't have your Brady new Buccaneer jerseys. They released the new uniforms yesterday. You don't have your new jerseys, right? Because you're about the only ones that haven't been reaching out for this, I think, at this point. It would not surprise me if we hear about 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 Tom Brady 12 jersey sales that happen over the next few days, few weeks.
Is that the whole reason for changing the uni, just so they could sell a whole bunch more?
They had already
Brady's
put
name?
that in play a year ago. You got to do it at least a year in advance. And the Rams have new ones, and the Falcons released new ones today. The Rams have a new logo. The Falcons released totally new uniforms today. You can see those online. That is done a year in advance, where you have put that in and planned for the merchandise and the retail and that stuff. With what are the color schemes and that stuff. But yeah, you better believe the Brady 12 in the new colors. In particular, there's going to be the pewter on pewter, the pewter of the helmet, pewter on pewter they've never worn before, and they're going to probably wear that at least a couple of times in primetime standalone games. That jersey may be hot selling as well. We'll see what the jersey sales look like, but I know just from looking at social media and people that I know 15 people that already have them, bought them, or they're on the way. That's just who I know and I saw in the last day or two.
I didn't hear it. I read a bunch of cuts from it, but tell me your impressions of what Brady said to Stern. Is there anything that really was enlightening?
They covered a lot of stuff. They covered him leaving New England, and he basically said he had made up what he had said on the conference call a couple weeks ago. He had made up his mind. Interestingly, he said he had made up his mind before the start of last season, that really in his own mind this was going to be the last hurrah in New England. And keep in mind, they had won a couple of Super Bowls already and were favored to once again win another one this past year. So it makes it easier for, I'm going to be out of my contract. I'm going to look to leave. So he kind of made mention of that. He talked some about, they didn't get a lot into the back and forth. He had nothing but complimentary things to say about Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, which is what you would expect, that it was not a divorce, those kind of things. And then he started talking about, also in his off seasons, that he had begun to curtail how much he was around the team building because that's what his wife, Giselle, wanted. And wanted to have more of a family relationship, time with the kids, and those kind of things. His priorities had begun to change and become more family-oriented in the off-season. So that was interesting, too. So that's part of the reveal. Again, it was an anthology of questions and how long it went on earlier today. They also announced, Brady and his wife, that they have now donated 750,000 meals to a program that we have locally here in the Tampa Bay area called Feeding Tampa Bay to help with a lot of families right now that are struggling to make ends meet, to have food on the table. And Feeding Tampa Bay does a fantastic job year-round, but they announced a little while ago, probably I don't know if they announced it last night, and I just saw the publicity of it today, but they announced that they were going to be helping feeding Tampa Bay to the tune of 750,000 meals over the next few days, few weeks. So that's again, he gets it, and here we go with all of the hype here that's hopefully going to build in the summer and towards the fall with Tom Brady and the Bucs.
I am in the broadcast center here at the Flynn Studios, and in our television, we get a TV within the studio on my side of the glass. And at the moment, I'm watching the 1986 Masters. Seve Ballesteros has a lead here of, I think, 3 or 4 strokes. Anybody want him?
I'll
no.
pass.
I will go ahead and predict Water on the 15th will do him in. Let's see how right I am.
I think
Great prediction, TJ. Great.
You are right.
It's almost like you know what's going to happen.
At the moment,
hey,
Jack
a
is
lot of
sitting
people
pretty.
Really think, a lot of people really think that this is going to be a big year for Greg Norman to win the Masters. I wouldn't count on him either.
He won't.
Even though it looks like he's going to win.
And he won't win in 96 either. And young Gary Nicklaus on the caddy wearing caddy bib number 89, and Danny Willett's caddy had on caddy bib number 89 the year he won it.
And if I'm right, we got to go back and look. If I'm right, I want to say Roger Maltby may have been leading when the final round began. If it's not Maltby, it might be Fuzzy Zeller was leading when the final round began.
Well, we got
to go back and look.
We're on the back nine,
and they didn't
so
factor
I can't tell. Ballesteros actually has like a 4-stroke lead, and he's on. I think he's on 13 or 14 at the moment.
What's amazing about this is how long it took for Jack Nicklaus to become the story. They were on the air on Sunday afternoon almost 2 full hours without a reference to him, and then he burst on the scene, and we know what happened.
Exactly. But by the way, who's in Butler Cabin? You guys know? Who's the announcer in Butler Cabin?
Yeah, Brent Musburger.
Yep.
It's not Brent Musburger, is it?
It is Brent Musburger.
Yeah, it is Brent Musburger with Tom Weisskopf and interludes with Gary Player.
And by the way, so Jack finishes, speaking of an hour, Jack finishes like 45 minutes or an hour before the leaders and is waiting after he makes the tremendous tee shot on 16 and then makes the yes sir birdie on 17 and comes in on 18. He had to wait for a while, and he didn't go to the range to warm up with the putting green to putt. He's watching, I don't know if it was Butler Cabin, but it was another one of those cabins. He's watching just like everybody else as it all played out.
Curtis James just made about a 50-footer on 18 to get to 1 under. He's not in it. That is always fun chatting with you. You guys hunker down, stay safe, and we will talk to you soon.
Wolo and Stats, thank you for what you're continuing to do there in Memphis. I always love being on with you guys, and let's hope that our optimism continues here through April. We get through this. This too will pass. We'll get sports at some point. Let's go for it. Let's go for it when it's reasonable. Good to be with you, boys.
There you go. TJ Reeves, our friend down in Tampa. This portion of the show, in fact, this hour of the show is brought to you by the good folks at Genesis of Olive Branch. I'm going to wander down Highway 78, you know, it's Lamar, and when it gets to State Line Road, it becomes 78 in the very first exit, like seconds away. That would be Craft Road. I'm going to see Chris True and a bunch of the gang tomorrow. I will keep my distancing. They know that already, but I'm going to bring you the latest. I'm going to see if we've got the Genesis SUV in the house. I know they got some G70s, they got G80s, they got my G90, and we'll talk some cars tomorrow. I can just tell you these products are so good, so full of technology, so full of safety. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new car, every one of them. And, of course, this is the place you want to do business. First off, you can go, you can test drive to your heart's content, get to know the car. Once you do, you're going to fall in love. And I am saying to you, they take care of you there. This is the way car business should be done. Please see for yourself at Genesis of Olive Branch. We get set to take a timeout here. And when we come back, we'll talk the business of sports. Rick Horrow is standing by. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. And there's Jack Nicklaus. He just had an eagle on, I think, what is that, 13? They're going crazy in Augusta. Hey, it's the closest I'm getting to sports. Back in a minute with Wolo and Stats.
The word is out about R&R on Sports, where you've heard interviews from Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more. Right here, R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m., Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Don't miss it.
Years of research, hundreds of tests, thousands of iterations, and the result? The latest and dreamiest in sleep innovation. Introducing the new mattresses from Casper. Casper has done it yet again with all new mattresses. Waking up with back pain? Introducing Zone Support. Casper's unique ergonomic system designed to keep your spine aligned when you sleep. There's something brand new called AirScape, engineered foam layers with perforations that help regulate your sleep temperature. From bedding, bed frames, even a dog bed, Casper has everything to build the dream bedroom. For every kind of sleeper, experience the best night of sleep every single night like I do with a new mattress from Casper. And as always, free shipping and free returns. Go to Casper.com and use the code ROAM. Get $100 off your mattress order. That's Casper.com. Use code ROAM, R-O-M-E, for $100 off your mattress order. Terms and conditions do apply. See Casper.com/terms.
Hilo Commercial Services can help protect your workplace and employees. Call Hilo Commercial Services today to help mitigate the dangerous effects of the coronavirus and the flu virus. Hilo offers complete deep cleaning and sanitizing services for schools, churches, medical facilities, office buildings, residential, warehouses, and more, all customized to your needs. Put safety first with Hilo Commercial Services. Call Philip right now at 901-277-6733. 901-277-6733. It's time for Hilo Commercial Services. Start your day at Sunrise Memphis. Located in Midtown, enjoy delicious biscuit sandwiches and all their menu has to offer with quick and easy to-go and delivery options. Whether it's breakfast, brunch, or lunch, don't distance yourself from great food. For more information on Sunrise Memphis, visit sunrise901.com or call 901-552-3144 to place your order. Stay healthy and eat Sunrise Memphis today.
Flo here with a word that's just weird. Terry cloth. Who exactly is Terry? And why does he get his own fabric? Did he journey below SPF 50? Fight off some weeds in his daffodils? How about a word for everyone? Flotection. Yeah, I just made it up. But I'm not making up how great it feels when me and Progressive protect your new home. Ever think of that, Terry? No. Terry only thinks of himself.
Save an average of 17% on car insurance when you bundle home and auto through Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include East Memphis Ace Hardware, The Butcher Shop, El Toro Loco on Kirby, Bartlett Small Engines, Spirit Shop Liquor Store, 5 Ash Roofing, Tactical Guns and Ammo, and Wolf Chase Lemon Brace. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
My world was strapped against my back.
Well, you just heard the wonderful tones of Rob Grayson talk about our wonderful sponsors, and I second that. And yesterday, really one of those people, Kevin Kane, was on with us, and it just dawned on me. I was looking over some of the commercial spots that we have from Kevin and Melvin and all the J.J. Greer, all the people that are part of the Memphis and Shelby County Sports Council and Memphis Tourism, and the stats are just so staggering when you think tourism and industry in Memphis and Shelby County. Well, they're paid over $1 billion in wages and nearly 50,000 local employees, and so many of them, as Kevin told us yesterday, have had to leave. They are not with those wages. And all that money, of course, gets reinvested back into the local economy. The mayor today was talking about the loss of 20 to 25%. And these tourism dollars are essential to ensuring the continued growth and success of the local economy. It's all going to come back, and we want to thank Kevin and Melvin and all these guys that are a part of our system here. They continue to sponsor our show. We thank the Memphis Tourism and Memphis Sports Council.
We do, Dave, and you're watching just like I am the 1986 Masters, and we may get to this Friday or at some point later in the week. What was better, 1986 with Jack Nicklaus or last year on Sunday with Tiger Woods?
Well, that is a very tough one for me because those are the two that I really watched a lot of golf and of their careers. I would say to you, because when Jack was really in his prime and I was following, like when I lived in Steamboat, I always come back to Steamboat, right? When I was there, we'd pause on Sundays in the summer to watch Nicklaus. But that's where I sort of picked it up. So you're talking about 1975, 76, 77. I really started to watch the PGA Tour. So I didn't watch exactly all of Jack like I did of Tiger. I watched Tiger when he came here with his dad. I watched Tiger when he was a U.S. amateur wearing those shorts and winning the 3 titles that he won as a U.S. amateur. I would say because of that, for me, probably last year was a little bit better, but that's like saying, do I love rum raisin Haagen-Dazs ice cream or Breyer's vanilla?
We know you eat it all.
I love them both.
I'm going to be selfish. I was there last year, but 1986 was very special because I love my dad and we had a lot of fun with sports. We watched golf together one time for 3 hours ever, and it was that Sunday afternoon in 1986.
Man, and at 46, I mean, is that the greatest round ever? And look at the people. He's passing by Seve Ballesteros. He's passing
major winner.
He's passing by Tom Watson. He's passing by Tom Kite.
Major winner.
He's passing by every one
Greg
of
Norman.
these great Greg
Curtis
Norman.
Strange.
Every one of these great names of that era. At the age of 46, he's going right by him.
And in 46. Dave, it was really 46 then. 46 is not as much 46 now. That's a yogiism, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was really 46 then, and Jack Nicklaus had mostly been off the scene since the heartbreak of losing the U.S. Open with Tom Watson's chip in 82 at Pebble Beach. He had been mostly off the scene 83, 84, and 85. This was obviously the first major of the year in 86, and he was off the scene through 54 holes of this tournament. That I've read, and people have read many times, he has said that he looked at the leaderboard on Sunday morning, reading the local sports page, and told his son, Jackie Nicklaus, not Gary, Jackie Nicklaus, right, that 66 would be in a playoff and 65 would win it. Dave, I swear, if I've ever told you the truth, I promise you, I looked at the commercial appeal that Sunday morning before we went to church, and I thought the very same thing. I said, well, if maybe, if he, got, torrid red hot, 66 would probably play off and 65 would win it. And then he goes 35-30 to shoot 65 right, and win it. Another great thing with the announcer assignments for the holes earlier today, on 15 was Ben Wright, on 16 was Jim Nance.
Right. He was way down the pecking order.
He was, and then after he ascended to Butler Cabin and for the 1990 tournament, when they told Brett Musburger, don't leave the Final Four and head to Augusta, you ain't going.
Right.
Jim Nance did. Then Ben Wright went to 16, and now Vern is still he's at 16, and told me last year, getting up and down that ladder to get in that tower at 16 is not easy for him.
He's going to figure out a way because that's the one thing he's still doing. And
they'll beam him up in that ladder.
How much he loves it. There is no doubt about that. Your point about that was when 46 was truly 46. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. Let's just start with equipment. You with equipment today, the forgiveness that you get, the flex in the shafts that you get with the new materials and the lightness of those materials, you can hit a ball so much longer for so much longer a period of time than you could back then. And let's face it, every one of these new guys on the tour, they are all fit. From Justin Thomas to Ricky Fowler to, you name it. They're
all flat bellies.
They're all Dustin Johnson. I mean, that dude is as strong as can be. They're all Brooks Koepka. You know, him and Dustin Johnson pump iron the morning of the final. They did in Memphis. Kevin Nienice, who's with St. Jude and is a big part of the marketing of the World WGC FESJI for the folks at St. Jude and Allsac. You know, he was telling me he walked in Sunday morning a couple of years ago, and there was Dustin Johnson, and there was Brooks Koepka, and they were absolutely lifting, not a little bit, not for repetition. They were like competing at picking up big metal. So
yeah, full sweat, getting after it.
Crazy stuff on the day of the Sunday final round. So
and that was
they're in a different
in
world now. Yeah. Well, heck, I can remember seriously when we were playing basketball in high school. Our coaches were saying, "You guys stop pumping iron 2 weeks before the season, because we don't want you to be muscle bound to restrict your follow through on." I mean, they were way wrong, but that was the philosophy of the day.
And Dave, you think of some of those basketball players from that 70s, 80s when it was for Bowden. I mean, I know his name is mostly attached to the punch, but what about a guy like Kermit Washington? If he had really put in the weightlifting work, or even a guy like Elvin Hayes or Wes Unseld, Paul Silas, some of those guys that were just naturally brutes.
Yeah,
but if they had been voracious weightlifters, man, they could have really hurt someone.
I think Wes Unseld was probably doing it anyway. I mean, that guy was so strong for his size. I can't imagine that he wasn't doing something ahead of the time. How about Wilt Chamberlain? Can you imagine Wilt Chamberlain on a program like we have today?
And the golfers of especially up to about that era, a little bit after that, it started changing a little bit. But their idea of a workout, we know where it was post round at the 19th hole.
Yeah, they did not. They might have gone to the range for a little bit. Like every player now, he finishes on 18. He signs autographs. And then he walks to the range, and whatever he figures, whatever shot he's got to work on that he didn't execute well that day, or whatever shot he figures he's really got to execute tomorrow, he works on that for a half hour, and then usually he gets with his family, because the family travels with the player now. They didn't used to do that a bunch, and then they get dinner and they do their family time. They rest and whatever,
and they eat so well.
Yeah.
And some of them at the higher end, they're taking the chef and the dietitian along with the family on a lot of the trips. Dave, I don't remember where it was, but you know the guy. I don't know if I want to throw his name out, but he was on one of the Scotland golf trips with a big crew one time, and said he asked somebody, where is the practice area? And the guy said, the bar's 2 doors down on the left.
Right. Well, let's just go to the era of Arnold Palmer and for a little bit Lee Trevino, okay?
And Billy Casper.
Yeah, well, those guys, they did when they're finished with their round. Now they worked on their game before the round, but when they were done with their round, they went to the locker room. They changed shirts and they went to the bar. They didn't think about going and working on shots. The only shots they did were bourbon.
Billy Casper never did a setup in his life.
Right. It was a different era, but you're right. I mean, and that's why, and let's face it, Tiger is fortunate that they have modern surgeries and fusion technology now, medical technology that they didn't have back then, so that he could still play. But the fitness level that he was at, had he not gotten injured with the back, and he's had knee issues too, he would have been fit enough to play probably very competitively into his early to mid-50s. Look at Bernard Langer. Look what he is doing on the Champions Tour.
He's not real. Doug Barron told us that his body should be donated to science.
Right.
Because it's just not real. And the day we had Doug on, I said this: if they hadn't really, and there's other people too, but when they tipped out Augusta National to the parking lot, that took so many out. I don't know if he had ever won it as an older player, but Bernhard Langer, as good a ball striker as he is, he would have been close. But we talk about those guys in the day, and they weren't very fit. But what they did, you watch all those swings, Dave, and I know you are. And in retirement, you will be swing guru extraordinaire. You'll really get it crafted because it's important to you, and you know the swing, and you're smart enough to understand it. But you watch all those guys from in the day. I don't care how big their bellies were or what. That goes on. I got my arms spread out a little more than the width of my shoulders right now. When they get, that's all that matters in a golf swing is about that far at that strike zone area. And Jim Furyk, he can take it back and do all he wants to with it. But when they get it down in that area, that's where it matters. And way back then and now, that's where the golf swing matters.
Let's take a quick timeout, and I believe Rick Horrow is going to join us. We'll do this quickly. Great. On the other side, Rick is standing by. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
I want to invite you to come by the Spirit Shop. You know, that little log cabin on Poplar? Your liquor and wine oasis. The Spirit Shop has been providing sports fans their beverage needs since way back in 1969. So come in now and get ready for the big game. Whether your favorite team wins or loses, the Spirit Shop will help you celebrate or ease that pain away. The Spirit Shop is open every day, and they're located perfectly at 4848 Poplar. That's the corner of Poplar and St. Nick.
Hey, sports fans, you already know the Butcher Shop has been a great Memphis tradition since 1981, and it still is. The Butcher Shop is absolutely open for your takeout with curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery because the Butcher Shop is still serving your favorite steaks, fish, and seafood. But now you can also pick them up raw and take them home to cook. You get the highest quality from the Butcher Shop and the comfort of home cooking. All wine and beer selections can be sold and picked up curbside as well. Plus, order curbside and pickup and receive 10% off your food order. And how about Burger Fridays? Treat your company to lunch, and the Butcher Shop will deliver Hamburger Friday any day of the week with all the fixins for just a minimum $250 order. The Butcher Shop is here for you, so don't worry about getting a great meal. The Butcher Shop has cooked or uncooked meals for curbside pickup or Grubhub delivery. Call 757-4244 or online at thebutchershop.com. The Butcher Shop at the Agri Center, Walnut Grove, and Germantown Parkway.
I'm Dr. George Flynn, president of Flynn Broadcasting. On behalf of everyone associated with Flynn Broadcasting, we want to wish you good health, especially in this coronavirus situation. You can be the hero. All you have to do is practice social distancing. That's right, 6 feet away from other people, and you'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Also, if you feel ill and have a cough or fever, get tested so you'll know if you have coronavirus or not. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting. We'll keep you connected while you maintain your physical social distance. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station because we're in this fight with you and we're going to help you stay connected.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. A quick reminder coming up at the top of the hour, D'Angelo Williams will be joining us. We'll talk about the Hall of Fame, Tigers, NFL football, whole bunch. In the meantime, it's time for the business of sports with a man who knows, Rick Horrow, who teaches at Harvard as a part of the MSNBC and all the NBC family of stations. And I always like to start, Rick, with you. You're hunkered down, I think, somewhere in Miami. Tell us how you're doing. How's your family?
Well, I was doing okay until, 15 minutes ago was the time for me. So I humbly apologize. I didn't realize, but, they turn cell phone service off and on at a certain time to hone it, to make sure things are done. So why would they do that in the middle of my weekly shot at Memphis? I mean, you guys need Rick. Me more than anybody else, man. I'm going to write
we need you now. Yeah, right.
You need me now. Good. You got me now.
We need you, Rick. And today I was telling Dave earlier, we kind of started with this. Someone at Wimbledon at the All England Club really smart investment on to continue to pay this cancellation insurance. It costs them a lot every year, but they're going to get $141 million back.
141. Yeah, I know. You can't feel sorry for Lloyd's. You can't feel sorry for Wimbledon. You can't feel sorry for the Brits. The bottom line is message in the future to all events. And we're going to stay close every week and talk about how this coronavirus basically changes the sports world. One of the ways is everybody's going to have cancellation insurance based on stuff they don't even know, because who'd have thought 5 years ago that COVID-19 would be one of the deals. But so, I'm a little perturbed at the whole Wimbledon experience, although not really as much as for the British Open, because Wimbledon already, whether they played or not, it wouldn't have mattered whether or not you'd had four majors. You'd have tried. The Australian Open is already there, and the French still, we're not sure. But on the golf side, we know we're not going to have four majors. We're going to have three, and we're going to have three and a Ryder Cup. I can't wait for the Ryder Cup. I've already snuck my hotel reservations because I know we're going to play at the end of September, and that's going to be a wonderful time for the golf world to come back. If not the PGA, at Harding Park, and then the U.S. Open at Winged Foot. But those are, I think we're going to have them, but you're pretty sure you're going to have the Ryder Cup. We all hope so.
Yeah. All right. So the Wimbledon people were smart. I guess they paid $2 million a year for the last 17 years. So that's $34 million, and they're getting $141. What will that do to Lloyd's of London? Seriously, in the future, what will events like Wimbledon or if the U.S. Open golf tournament decides to do the same thing, how much will that affect these policies?
I got two really weird answers for you. One is, what if you invested those $2 million over that time as an annuity? You'd have made more than the 141, or you'd have been right there. So that would have been an interesting one.
Yeah,
but you can't think that way. But the other way you can think is, does Lloyd's need a bailout like that? Because Lloyd's is all about catastrophic contingencies that don't usually happen, but do in certain cases. That's what puts Lloyd's on the map. So if I'm Lloyd's, I ask for a government bailout, and I raise the ultimate irony that the insurance company that insures against really weird stuff asks for a government bailout. It's not going to kill them because they have this factored into their plan, but who knew that they're going to pay 141 here and all the other cancellations? But very carefully, we talked about that last week. Postponement, deferred revenue, you don't get as much as you would have, but you're going to survive. Cancellation, a whole new kettle of fish, and now we understand who really bears that risk. It's Lloyd's.
Rick, last Saturday, the commissioners of all the major professional sports and many of them, including auto racing and and mixed martial, they all had a big conference call with the president. He did not. There will be no bailout of the owners of sports teams, but he did throw out maybe going back to the old way of some tax incentives for skyboxes, tickets, planes, etc. Do you think that would be good for the owners to go back to those older breaks at the stadium?
It's a great thing for the owners. Now, remember, I'm a stadium guy. That's where I earned a lot of my money. But they're also having bigger picture issues. The president's talking about T&E, travel and entertainment for corporations, so the restaurants come back. So all of this in one big bundle, frankly, I'm a little biased, but I didn't think that should have been eliminated anyway. So now if we want a stimulus,
with you. It shouldn't have been.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't have been. But now let's think about how we build stadiums. Do you realize the Orange Bowl was built in 1934 as a WPA infrastructure stimulus project to bring jobs back?
Sure.
Wow, we didn't know that. So let's talk about who needs stadiums. Well, Tampa, Oakland, a lot of people do. Every stadium deal needs some renovations. I'm not sure if Earhart has a list, but let's get his list of Liberty Bowl.
Oh, he would, believe me, because
we do.
That stadium has put him in the backtrack.
Hey, Steve, if you're listening, man, I'll send you the legal pad. Get to work. So the idea is it's time now to start thinking about how the sports industry helps the recovery, and I'm glad we're even talking about that now. It may be too early but it helps us if we talk about this stuff.
Yeah, that is. I really had. Well, this is why we love having you. I hadn't really thought about that. All those
Memo to Earhart.
those.
You call your buddy. Hey,
Yeah.
by the way, next week, call him. He has nothing better to do. Get him on. We'll talk together. How about that?
We just had him on a couple of days ago. How many of those World War II stadiums were built to help bring back the economy?
6 or 7, but the most notorious, and maybe a lot more in smaller communities.
Yeah, there were.
But but remember, the most public example is the Orange Bowl. Everybody says, public money, it's a terrible thing. Well, not when you're looking to bring jobs and economic impact back. Here it is.
Exactly. War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock opened in 1947, straight from a WPA post-World War II construction.
All those little
See what
towns
Google
like
does? Because even you can look up Google.
No. He's got a mind like a steel trap. I've done games in Mobile off of it was a Senior Bowl or a Blue Gray game, whatever it was. Lad People Stadium.
Yeah.
That's another one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. No, listen, I am not kidding. This becomes a very serious conversation with the next bit of money after the $2 trillion. And frankly, the $2 trillion, why not, since each town gets to allocate their dollars? This is not the normal giving billionaires money for a bailout. This is now how you protect your core infrastructure. And, I don't live in Memphis, but Earhart does, and you guys do. What better way to show solidarity than preserving your kind of signature stadium?
It makes a lot of sense to me. There is a definite need because the Liberty Bowl itself, the stadium was built, in 1960?
65.
Yeah, a little earlier.
65?
Maybe 60.
65.
Yeah. Let's start this plan, by the way. Plus, Earhart's cheap. He owes me a dinner. Yeah, let's do this together.
And for that matter, Rick, newer buildings, FedEx Forum is going to need that upgrade at some point. The Superdome is going to need that upgrade.
Well,
places like in Seattle that served as a field hospital, they're going to need improvement.
We're on to something here because that was kind of the core of my business 20, 25 years ago when the bonds were issued, 15, 20, 25 years. You look at all of these facilities, including the FedEx Forum, and they're 13, 14, 15, 18 years old. The bonds are about to be done. Every one of these deals needs a spruce up, and it's not just grabbing money. It's that, if you have a house that's 20 years old, you need to put some money into it to preserve it. This is no different.
We always learn something and gives us something to think about when we talk with Rick Carlo. Thank you, Rick. Stay safe.
Next week.
We'll do it next week.
Yeah. On time next week. Sorry.
You got it.
Bye.
That's okay. That is Rick Carlo, business professor at Harvard, and, of course, a member of the family of NBC stations. We take a time out. When we come back, the greatest, I think, Tiger football player of all time. That is D'Angelo Williams, and he is next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Hi, I'm Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. 5 Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. 5 Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
For the ones standing guard. For the eagle-eyed. For the knights in shining armor. And for all those who support them. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, plus free access to specialists who have the knowledge and experience to answer your toughest questions. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. So whether you rent or own, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and auto insurance. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico Easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Final hour on this Wednesday afternoon. D'Angelo Williams getting set to join us to talk about his induction into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. This hour brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road. Visit them online at DeSotoAutoSales.com, 662-890-7184. All the cars test driven at DeSoto Auto Sales. Checked out bumper to bumper, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. And if it's not on the bar yet, DeSoto Auto Sales, where you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales, but they do care about your time, and they want you to have the ultimate car experience because they know we're living in a world today that time really matters. You walk in within 45 minutes, test drive your car, paperwork completed, credit approved, and you're gone in your new car in 45 minutes or less. Visit them online at DeSotoAutoSales.com, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
We are awaiting our good friend D'Angelo Williams, trying to get him on. Of course, he was put into a new Hall of I shouldn't say new Hall of Fame. He's the newest inducting class. He's an inductee in the newest class of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, which I did not realize. Brett, did you? That thing started in 1966.
I didn't know it was that old, but it is a very illustrious class that he's going to be at the top of, and we are glad to visit with Tiger legend D'Angelo Williams.
Some think the greatest Tiger football player of all time. Hard to
no doubt
argue that. 6,026 rushing yards, 55 touchdowns, all-purpose, by the way. Not just number one in the Tiger football program's history with 7,573 total yards. That happens to lead the NCAA, and now the latest into the Hall of Fame. And also, we are told, a Hall of Fame teacher of riding bikes without training wheels. So let's start there. D'Angelo Williams, tell me, how did it go with your youngest daughter today?
Okay, so this is what happens. I poll everybody. First of all, thanks for having me on the show.
It's our pleasure.
Me and my wife were sitting there talking, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to post a general question. I was like, hey, what age should your kid be when you take the training wheels off? And, I'm feeling really good about myself because I taught my oldest daughter, like last year. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm pounding my chest and stuff. And it was like 4 to 6. And I was like, damn, it's a horrible way to find out that you're not parenting right. My daughter was almost 9 when I taught her how to write. That's my oldest daughter. So my youngest daughter is 6. So I'm like, okay, we're going to get out here. And my wife was like, I don't think you'll be able to do it. And I said, for sure I'll be able to do it. So we had a spousal bet that I couldn't have her riding her bike come Friday. So every day this week, I've been working with her, making sure that she can ride. And we're really close to that Friday's deadline.
Well, how are you doing? You still have 2 days.
I still have 2 days, but where I'm at right now, I think I can pass the test, but I don't want to just pass it. I want to ace it. So, it's one of those things now where, like, I feel like I was a terrible parent now because my 8-year-old learned at 8. Because she was saying that to her sister. She was like, I was 8 when I learned how to ride a bike. Like, with no training wheels, you're so much farther along than I am. And I'm thinking, like, no, that's a slap in my face.
See, D'Angelo, I thought what made you the great running back was from Coach Campbell in high school running the trap to Tommy West. You were such a patient runner. Now, you got to be patient with these training wheels, too, now.
Well, see, here's the thing. I have a deadline, though. So in football and in learning a skill, if you don't have a deadline, it comes easy. But as soon as they put a deadline on it, that's when you start feeling the pressure. So I'm feeling the pressure because Friday is the deadline, and I can meet the specifications that she say, but I don't know if I'll meet them like she think. Like, so she says, hey, she got to get up, be able to start and like stop. Like, if it take her a couple of times to start, she still started, but it took her a few times. So my wife be throwing little curveballs in there, so I got to make sure I'm prepared for everything.
I got the feeling your daughter's going to come through with flying colors. So let me congratulate you about making this haul. And when D'Angelo and I were talking earlier today, he had no idea who was going in with him. So maybe this
clue.
Maybe
I have no clue at all.
This will make you feel good who you're going in with, because this is one heck of a class. Have you ever heard of Jeff Fisher?
Ooh. No, I haven't heard of Jeff Fisher.
Come
on. You can't be talking about the head coach for the Tennessee Titans. That's professional.
That's him.
That's it. Well, it's not an amateur Hall of Fame. This is the State Hall of Fame. If you performed, you're in. So Jeff Fisher is one of your classmates. Heath Schuler. You remember him?
I do. You're making me to say that we're classmates and him being like 30 years older than me. I feel some type of way right now.
and a former member of Congress, Heath Schuler, and Jeff Fisher was a defensive back in his playing days at USC. So there's you a good punchline.
And
the
dinner. Chicago
Bears. If I see you out on the corner, Jeff Fisher, I know I'd have trucked you.
That's why he became a head coach.
Also in this class, Tony Delk. You remember Tony Delk, the great Kentucky basketball player?
Yeah, he performed here in Tennessee.
He did. He went
Haywood
to high
County.
school. Yeah, Haywood County. Yeah.
Okay.
Dick Horton, you might not know him. He was, he might have been the founding member, for all I know, of the Tennessee Golf Association, the TGA. He was Mr. Amateur Golf in the state for many, many years. Sonny Smith, the basketball coach, he's coming in with you. A guy named Tim Corbin, who's been the Vanderbilt baseball coach forever. Terry Crisp is an old curmudgeon-y kind of broadcaster. He was a hockey coach for many, many years, played the game, and for years has done the Preds games on TV. Now he does their pregame show. And Carl Torbush, who I know you'll know that name. He was a defensive coordinator for a bunch of football teams.
Okay, so Dave, so what's the criteria to get into, like, so do you have to be born and raised there? Do you have to perform there? Like, what's the minimal amount of days do you have to perform there in order to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
That, my friend, is a good question. Now, you are also going to get inducted, and the rules I know of this, you are, because we're voting here in a while, you're going to be in the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame, which just began last year. as soon as your 5-year retirement, is that ending this year?
I don't know. I'm gonna tell you, bro. March was so long. I feel like I've served like 14 years. So I have no idea. Before this pandemic, I could have told you, but like now, I don't even know what today is. Okay.
Well,
I'm just.
We know the feeling.
As soon as the 5 years are up, you'll be in the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame, which is going to be this really cool, like sort of museum right on the second floor of AutoZone Park in the press box area. They're building a whole big, really cool deal. So you're going to be a part of that next year. But this one, I don't know. I would imagine you probably had to play a sport or coach a sport for a period of time in the state of Tennessee to be eligible.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
Jeff Fisher had great years
know
with the Titans.
He did. He had some really, really strong years with the Titans.
Took him to a Super Bowl.
He did.
That's right.
You know, you can look at that two ways. You can say he took him to a Super Bowl or he lost them a Super Bowl. It just depends on how you want to say that.
Oh, you're tough.
Get the zingers ready for the banquet, D'Angelo. Hey, D'Angelo, did you have a favorite? Did you have a favorite run in college with the Tigers, or a favorite run in the NFL, either with the Panthers or the Steelers? Was there one that, if you had to see the D'Angelo Williams highlight film, did you have one?
I did. It's actually on the highlight film that the University of Memphis posted in that video. It's the Houston game where I stopped on like the dime or whatever, and the guy went by and I walked in for the touchdown. The reason why I think that run is like super crazy to me is because the night before that, I was watching Barry Sanders tapes, and he would stop on a dime, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. And it like worked out for me. I never did it again, but I was like, yo, I can do the stop on the dime thing.
What?
But it was so cool coming to the sideline because I was telling, Robert Douglas, I was like, yo, bro, I did the stop on the dime thing, bro. You missed it. He was like, no, I saw it, bro. That was like dope. And we was celebrating it because it was like something I wanted to do, and I was able to do it.
My favorite one, and I can't really remember who the competition was, but it was a long run. And you said after the game, you make a little jog to the right, I think it is, at the end of the run. I'm going to say it about
I know you're talking about that when I looked up at the Jumbotron.
When you looked up at the Jumbotron and you told all the reporters.
That was down at South Florida.
I'm trying to remember where it was, but you told all the reporters that you had looked at the Jumbotron, and I was never really sure if you made that up or if you were telling the truth.
No,
so I'm going to ask you now.
I was really looking at the Jumbotron.
Because I remember this. I remember Tommy West. We told him that, and Tommy goes, "Well, it's a good thing he was going that way because they didn't have a Jumbotron on the other
way."
side.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I was always told use everything around, and using those Jumbotrons. I don't know if you know it, but if you look up at the NFL, any guy that's ever played in the NFL, and you guys probably have habits of it too, but like you get so used to looking at the Jumbotron that when you go to high school football games, when a good play happens, you're looking up at the Jumbotron, like, oh, crap. Like, because it's just become, like, habit. So because it was a habit, like, then when I was playing in college, like, I would always, even standing on the sideline, I would look, as a young guy, I would look up at the Jumbotron, and I'm like, oh, that's, like, dope. Like, I'm on the Jumbotron at a college football game.
That's true. It was darn new. I always loved that line that Tommy said. It's a good thing he's running that way. And you had an unbelievable relationship with Tommy West, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Coach West, he came in. He was the only coach that came into my living room. He sat down in my chair and he told me where I had Arkansas, I had Ole Miss coming in, and everybody had their punchline, right? And SEC was like the thing that everybody was talking about. Even Iowa was like, you come here, you could be the starting running back or, right behind this guy. Arkansas said, hey, you come here, you could be our second or third, running back in rotation. And I'm like, dang, he was like, we look, and Arkansas was like, you might make a good defensive back too. And I was like, that kind of turned me off. And then Ole Miss was like, dude, you get a chance to play, with Eli Manning, Archie Manning's son. And they showed me the cast that was on the arm of Archie Manning that they had in their cemetery. I'm gonna say cemetery. I'm not gonna say their memorabilia, but their cemetery. And I was like, dang, this is dope. but Coach West was the only one that sat in there, and he said, we hadn't been to a bowl game in 32 years. He was like, I can't promise you a starting spot, but what I can tell you is you could play football. And that meant a lot to me because he didn't try to upsell me on the university. He was like, we are what we are. You can make us better.
Is that what actually steered you to the U of M? Because you could have gone to all those places.
I could have gone all those places, but that's what steered me to it. And, I like Coach Randy. And
Randy Fiechner, yeah.
Oh, Coach Fiechner was amazing, man. And when they got Coach Fiechner, I was like, dude, because I don't know how the story goes, but this is what's funny. I had a conversation with Memphis, and I went on a visit to Arkansas State, and Randy Fiechner was the offensive coordinator there. And I sat down and I was like, dude, I really wish that Randy Fiechner was the offensive coordinator at Memphis, because then I would go there. Well, I don't know if they heard me or was reading my thoughts, but they hired Coach Randy, and he was the offensive coordinator at Memphis. And I was like, you know what? That just makes sense.
And
where did you get to be such a patient runner, D'Angelo? Because Tommy West always said you waited for your linemen to do their job, and then you did your job.
I'm going to tell you what made me a patient runner. Eric Taylor was Eric Taylor and Trevico Lucas. There's our defensive ends at the University of Memphis at the time. And it was Eric Taylor. I was running, and I was in high school. We ran a trap all the time. So Don Campbell was always saying, hit it as hard and fast as you possibly can. So that's how I always ran. Well, when I got into, Coach West's offense, he was like, hey, man, you got to let the big guys do the work for you. He kept saying it, but I just wanted to, I'm fighting with Don Campbell all these years. And then, I'm trying to layer on, the Coach West. And, we're going from a closed offense to a wide open, you got to use every piece on the football field in college. So I'm still wrestling with old Don Campbell ways. So I'm still hitting it fast as I can. He was like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. So we go to the spring game. And I remember I hit it hard, and my offensive lineman hadn't pulled yet, and Eric Taylor came down and ear-holed me, and it was the worst feeling in the world. I was like, yo, I'll never do this again. He was like, I bet you slow down now. And that's when I started to learn how to slow down, and then, a few plays after that, Trevico Lucas hit me. I was like, oh, yeah. That's why I got really good at running those inside plays and bouncing them out and stuff, because I learned what the defensive ends were going to do on the backside.
Smart stuff, that's for sure. And then you actually, at the end of your career, didn't you play for Randy Fiechner with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I did. It was crazy because all the years that I didn't play with him as the offense coordinator, but he was the quarterbacks coach,
right?
In Pittsburgh, and I was like, yo, that's crazy. But then found out the connection through him and Coach Tomlin. Because Coach Tomlin was he did a GA stint in Memphis.
Right.
So I was like, man, and I guess they met then. I don't know if it was through Arkansas State or if it was through University of Memphis. But then, it just kind of made sense because Keith Buckler, he played at Memphis, which is the linebackers. Well, he's the DC that was there. And it just all the Memphis connections and then, having that history, that's ultimately what led me to Pittsburgh. But, seeing him there and seeing people from Memphis, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's rifle, whether it's, women's golf to men's golf. I always want to see people on TV because, the things that we do, you make it out of Memphis, that you're going to have a long career in whatever it is you do because you've earned everything that you've gotten there.
You now live in Charlotte. You spent so many years with the Panthers, and I believe you are their leading all-time rusher there, too.
I think Jonathan got me now.
Jonathan's got you now? Oh.
I think he has me by 61 yards.
Uh-oh. But now that is your home, how often do you get to Memphis?
I get to Memphis as often as not as often as I probably should, but I try to get back for all the home games. But, my wife was like, hey, I got these kids by myself. And I was like, no, you can go too. And so we were getting better at just now getting in our groove of going to the Memphis home game. So during the season in the fall, we go every weekend. to support the guys that they have a home game. But like in the off season or like in the summertime, probably 3 or 4 times because we have some of the events there to give back.
I know this much. I saw you the championship game because we put you on the air on the network, and I knew you were around for those, and that was magical last year. But my first taste, I think, really of magic, and you mentioned earlier that Tommy West said they hadn't gone to a bowl game. My greatest memory might be that New Orleans Bowl when the Tigers were winners.
That was the most emotional game that I've ever been a part of that not to play in. Because, leading up to it, I was really close to making it back, and I just wasn't ready. And I was giving it everything that I got, and I was holding out hope, but it just didn't work out. But the atmosphere of the fans, and that's when the song that was engraved in my head forever, and I told my wife, I love this song to death. I even have it, as my ringtone. I'm so glad that I go to the U of M.
Yeah.
It was insane just because of the energy and the love that came with it. And we won that game with a running back that at the time shouldn't have been even playing or starting, according to everybody else. But we knew LaKennis Cole was good enough to get the job done because me and Darren Parquette had got hurt.
Right. And then your last game as a Tiger at the Motor City Bowl, and that was a magical game too.
Yeah, it was weird because I was so emotional during that game because of my guys. The most emotional football game that I've ever played in, and I've never told anybody this, was the Motor City Bowl. I mean, not the Motor City Bowl. I'm sorry, the Mobile Bowl.
Okay.
And the Mobile Bowl was super, super, super emotional for me because it was my junior year. I had to make a decision on whether or not I was going to stay or go. And it was Danny Wimprine's last game, and he was like my big brother.
And it was raining cats and dogs.
It was raining cats and dogs. I jacked up my leg. I didn't finish the game. And I remember watching Danny up there, giving his press conference, like crying, cats and dogs. And I get up there, and, I'm thinking, like, they're going to ask me about Danny, stuff like that. They was like, so are you going to go or are you going to stay? And I'm like, I haven't even processed it. I got a broken leg. I'm super emotional about Danny Wimprine's last football game. Like, I don't really know where to go from here. So just all the uncertainty and not playing with Danny Wimprine was a lot for me.
What was it that swung it? Because I got to tell you, after that game, I really did not think you would come back. I thought you would go to the NFL. I just remember how happy myself and Tommy West were when you made the decision that you were going to stay. Well, what swung it?
So my mom made one comment. So I was going back and forth. I was like, at 3 o'clock, I was like, you know what? I'm making the jump to the NFL. At 5 o'clock, I'm like, nah, I'm staying. And I was just beating myself up about it. I had no idea, what I was going to do. I called Coach West one minute. I was like, hey, Coach West, I'm out of here, man. I really appreciate the opportunity. He was like, I don't blame you. I'd hang up, and then, a few hours later, I'd call him back. And I was like, nah, Coach, I'm staying, man. I'm not going to go because I didn't want to leave because, again, all the uncertainty, stuff like that. So my mom finally came to me, and I was like, Mom, what do you think I should do? She was like, well, I'm going to tell you like this. If you go, you can use the money. But if you stay in school, you broke anyway. So you're not going to change anything anyway. And I was like, you know what? She was like, just follow your heart. And I was like, you know what? I'm coming back because there's no point in me changing, what's going on. And I was always told once you got to that level, like it was a business, and I was still having fun. And that was the reason why I came back.
Was that the way it worked? Did it seem more like a business?
That's exactly how the NFL works from a standpoint of whoever gets the biggest check is going to be the guy that's playing because they either one earned it or two, you don't buy a Lamborghini and keep it in the garage, especially on the days the good days, and the good days are on Sunday.
No doubt. No doubt. And
so they absolutely treat it like a job. And if they can't profit from it, then, they don't get behind it.
Last thing for D'Angelo Williams, who's been kind enough to chat with us about a whole bunch of good stuff, including making the Tennessee Hall of Fame, their Sports Hall of Fame. I guess that induction will be, hopefully we can have one later in the summer. What are you doing now besides teaching your daughters how to ride bikes? I know you did the wrestling thing for a little bit and wisely decided not to do that. What are you doing now?
Well, I'm doing I cycle just to kind of stay in shape. I run like 5Ks and stuff like that, but just getting all the time that I lost while I was playing football is great because, my kids are young. They're 9, 6, and 4. So my 6 and 4-year-old, my 9-year-old kind of remembers some stuff, but not a lot of stuff. Like, missing opportunities to watch my kids walk or be able to enjoy family because once the season starts, that's a job, and this is not one of those jobs where you take sick days. So just getting all that time back and getting to know their personalities as they change and just having the opportunity to be a stay-at-home dad and watch them go through all their emotional changes. And I'm just watching too, because at this point in time in my life, I feel like, my wife is like my buffer. So if the kids get too out of control, like I just have them go talk to their mother. That's what all great dads do, right? Is that not what all great dads do?
Giving them to mom is definitely one solution. There's no question about that. When they're all off to college, it won't be that long. What are you going to do?
Really? I heard that they grow up fast.
They do.
I like the stage where we're at right now because, like, she says stuff that as an adult would be, like, very immature, but as a kid, because she's innocent, you, like, accept it. But then you have to walk around the corner and laugh because you can't do it right there because then you're promoting, like, that type of behavior.
Good stuff. You enjoy it.
Yeah, I am. I am enjoying that a lot. And my wife, she finds me all the time laughing because I'm just like, every time they do something, she's like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "That is you. I tell you, you are raising little yous around here that's sprouting up everywhere."
Great stuff. You are happy. I'm happy for that. And we'll talk to you sometime soon. Congratulations on the Hall. Hopefully we got a football season where we can see you in Memphis.
Dave, last question.
Yeah.
What year is this for you in broadcasting?
I started doing Tiger football games on TV in '86. So if we got a season next year, it's a long time. 34 years, 35 years, something like that.
Yeah, I'm just like, I was thinking about myself. When you were saying what you were saying, I was like, dang. Dave's been there for a really, 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 really long time.
I love it, man. I don't want to give it up. I can tell you that.
It's funny because some of the older guys that play football, you knew, and I was like, damn, Dave.
Keeps me young, D'Angelo. It keeps me young.
See that.
Take care of yourself, kid.
Thank you. Dave. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. That is the great D'Angelo Williams. We are late for a break. Back in a minute. We had a wonderful conversation a little bit earlier with Otis Sanford from the Memphian and the journalism professor at the U of M. We replay that in just a minute on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. The East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
At Ace, we always have been and always will be committed to our local communities because we're here to help others. So in this time of need, your local Ace remains open. And since we're in your neighborhood, we can deliver almost anything you need. So shop in store or online for the home or yard products you're looking for and choose from top brands like Steel, Ego, Toro, and Scotts. Then you can pick up in-store, curbside, or we'll deliver your order right to your door. Help is just around the block. See acehardware.com for details.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Halfway through our final hour of the program, it's brought to you in part by the Commissary, the Germantown Commissary. Oh, you know how much we love that commissary, and Walker Taylor is keeping everything going there. He's trying to keep everybody employed. What a great business it is. What a tough time it is. But they keep it going. They've got the pickup coming either curbside or drive-through. If you go to the Collierville Commissary, the newer one, Poplar and Houston Levy Road, right there, you can go through. The drive-through gets a little busy during dinner time, but most of the time it's open, and you can just go right through. If you want, you can actually call ahead, give your credit card number, makes things a little quicker, and there's not less touching if that is something you are concerned about. And also, you go to the original, the Germantown Commissary in the quaint part of Germantown, downtown, I guess you could say, old part of Germantown, however, you know where it is. That's the wonderful place with a little telephone pole right in the parking lot. But the food's unbelievable. You know that. All the ribs and all the shoulder, and they're doing the pickup curbside there. You want commissary tonight? You don't have to say no. Your favorite place for barbecue, still open and still doing wonderful pickup business. The Germantown and the Collierville Commissary. Well, we were very fortunate earlier today to catch up with Otis Sanford, who, of course, is a writer for the Daily Memphian forever, political expert in this town. And also he is one of the professors of journalism at the University of Memphis, and we talked about an array of topics. Let's start from a journalistic approach. This pandemic for Shelby County, in particular, the biggest story of your and my lifetime?
Oh, no question about it. No question about it. I've been around 60, it'll be 67 years.
Hang on, Otis.
Next week.
Wow. Wait. When's your birthday?
It's April 23rd.
Wow, I'm April 20th, and that'll be my 67th. We are very close. How about that?
Right there, simpatico.
How about that?
Yeah. How about that? But yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, we've lived through 9/11. We've lived through the Vietnam War and assassinations and the civil rights movement and all of that. But I don't know of any sustained single story that has so fundamentally changed our lives as this right now, and we don't know where and how it ends.
No expiration date, Otis, and it came on us so fast. Most of us, a lot of us, were living the good life on March 10th. I kind of used the Rudy Gobert moment on March 11th as the demarcation, as the Maginot line of sorts. I mean, the economy was as good as it's ever been. Stock market was at 29,000. Gas was at $2. It was high old times, and in a blink of an eye, we're wondering about our neighbors, we're wondering about ourselves, and no expiration date on it, Otis.
Well, that's absolutely, Brett. And again, you just enumerated all of the things that were just percolating right along. I mean, the only thing that we were really worried about or talking about or even fighting about was, impeachment or the election. But other than that, I mean, we were moving right along. We were enjoying a surprisingly wonderful Grizzlies basketball season. Of course, the Tigers basketball kind of hit a real bumpy road there. But again, we were sort of living life pretty well there. And all of a sudden, it just sort of stopped, and it just cascaded down. Again, there is no other story that I know of that has so fundamentally changed us like this one in my lifetime.
And as you said, no expiration, but always twists and turns. Each day there's a new story, whether it's the healthcare system or whether it's the economy. And today is the breakdown racially, where we are finding that 68% of the cases that we know we've had true tests in Shelby County are from African Americans. 71% of the death rate has come from their cases, 28% from the whites. And we're all sitting here, and I'm listening to different people trying to figure out what is the reason for that. I'm certain that's something that you are looking at. What is your hunch on why that is?
Well, I mean, you're right. As a matter of fact, part of my column, or a lot of my column for the Daily Memphian tomorrow is focusing on that. I just think it is just symptomatic of the long-standing issues around lack of access to health care by a lot of African Americans, Dave. It's also an issue about poorer health, higher rates of diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease. Those rates are much higher in African American people than others. And then again, access to health care, the lack of testing is a big issue here, and so it all of those factors enter into it. And again, we're finding out that that's the case here in Memphis, but we found out earlier, a couple of days ago, that it was the case in Chicago. It's the case in Detroit, where I used to live.
Yep.
It's certainly the case in New Orleans. We're finding out that this is the case where African Americans are far more impacted than anybody else.
And Otis, once again, we see how we were talking about the high old times before it all hit. It was real wide, but sadly, it wasn't very deep, and it wasn't very deep for a lot of people, too many people. And I don't know why we can't spend the money on the African American community, on everyone, on preventative maintenance, to be able to go to a doctor and have a hypertension test, to be able to head off something at the past, to have that preventative maintenance that so many other parts of the world that they do and that we don't. And I think back to all that money, those bales and bales, literally cotton bale size bales of $100 bills dropped into the SUNY Triangle in 03, 04, and 05 to try to get them to like us. If we had spent half of that on some preventative maintenance measures for our own community and communities for health care, we wouldn't have this scab torn off.
Brett, you are right on the money, but then you're bringing up a political issue here that this country has wrestled with for decades. We've always had a problem, a difference of agreement about access to health care. Going back to the classes I teach at the University of Memphis, we have, on a regular basis, we have foreign students in the class. I've got 2 this semester, one from Germany and one from the Great Britain. I've had students from other countries in my class, and they come over here and they say, we just don't have those kinds of fights and issues about health care. We have access to health care. But that's one of the big issues that we have always fought over. And as long as we continue to fight over it, the lesser of those among us will always be at the bottom of the list. And you just nailed it.
Let us hope that this is a lesson that we learn and that we change that pattern of behavior. You mentioned teaching and what you have now in class, which I'm assuming is all online. Otis, what do you think the effect this pandemic will have on the future, really, of colleges and teaching? Do you think we will see campuses get smaller and that online teaching will become bigger?
I do. Online teaching has already grown exponentially as it is. I mean, we've been teaching online for years and years, some classes. I've been teaching online almost since I got to the university in 2011. The Department of Journalism was one of the first ones to do a lot of classes online, especially in our grad program, where we have students in our grad program from other cities, and they take all of their courses online. But it's not the norm for me. I mean, I like a classroom setting. I
do too.
Being in there with students, including your son once upon a time.
And he loved your class. He did.
Oh, man, he was great. I think he took two of them from me, I believe.
I think he did. I've often wondered this, and from your perspective, do you think you are as good a teacher online as you are in class?
No, I do not. And that's why I don't necessarily like the online class as much as I do. I do the best I can, Dave, but I like being in the classroom with the students. I like, even though I can look them eye to eye on Zoom, so that's what we're using right now, but it's still not the same. They can be distracted because they're at home. It's just it's a makeshift kind of thing. But to answer your original question, yes, I do think that there will be more online classes. I do think that one of the likely fallouts of this will be that universities get smaller. That does not bode well for the financial health of universities. So we're talking about a lot of factors here. Dr. Rudd has already announced that every class this summer for the university will be online. So this is portending some big changes, and it may not all be positive changes going forward for not just for U of M, but every university.
And Otis, Memphis a little bit insulated from it because while the University of Memphis is so very important, FedEx up there, the medical community way up there, and the University of Memphis is very important, but it is not the college town like a lot of the SEC places, like your alma mater, like at Ole Miss. If you have the downsizing of enrollments and real brick and mortar, going to the Lyceum and going to Ventress and going across campus, what it would do to property rates in those towns, I don't think we can imagine what the home values will do.
That's exactly right. And, most universities in the SEC are in college towns.
Itty-bitty
towns. The university controls everything, that maybe except for maybe Nashville. But the others, you mentioned it, Oxford, Starkville, and Fayetteville, and Tuscaloosa, and Auburn, they are college towns. And if they start to dry up in terms of people being there, that will be a huge, huge blow to the economic well-being of those towns. And that's absolutely true.
Let's get back to Memphis here for just 1 minute. We're speaking with Otis Sanford from the Daily Memphian and journalism of professor at the University of Memphis. I watched you and Richard Ransom on many of your shows this past election year, talking about the mayors and the mayor race and everything of that nature. Give me your assessment of the way Mayor Strickland and Mayor Harris have operated during this time of crisis.
I have to say, Dave, that I thought, and I still think, that Mayor Strickland has done a really good job of getting out in front of this crisis and showing some commendable leadership. And I'll say the same thing right now for Mayor Harris. I have to say, in all honesty, that he got off to a little late start just because of the trip that he took to Ghana. And I'm not trying to be overly critical there. That's just a matter of fact. He was out of the country when this thing really, really, really started here in this county. And so he had to catch back up by the time he got back here. But in terms of the response, the what they did, especially Mayor Strickland for Memphis, in terms of safer at home orders, the shutting down of the restaurants and bars, and just taking a proactive approach to try to deal with this, I'm very commendable of how he and Mayor Harris have handled this recently.
I guess one of the last questions for you would be, as we see we're about to hit a bump, do you have in your gut, and I know it's sheer speculation, how long you think this this period of uncertainty, maybe fear, will prevail? Do you have any sense when we might get back to normalcy?
I have absolutely none, Dave. Yeah. I'm just sort of like everybody else. I was already a voracious consumer of news, as you well know, long before this. But I'm consuming everything that I can right now, trying to stay abreast of it, certainly for my own health and well-being and my family's. But everything that I look at here, I just don't know. All of it does depend on how we abide by the demands right now to shelter in place, to do social distancing, to not take this for granted and think it's over when it's not. We have to continue doing all those things, understanding that by doing them, we are hurting our economy. We are, my favorite restaurants are closed right now. My older kids are struggling because, one of them's a musician and he can't work because there are no places to go and perform. And so he is in fear. So I have no idea when this is over. The only thing I can do is hope and pray that it'll be over as soon as possible.
I'm into that. I relate to everything that you've just said, and now I know why. We're 3 days apart in growing up. Did you grow up in Detroit? I grew up in Chicago. Were you from Detroit originally?
No. I grew up actually just south of here in Mississippi. Brett just mentioned I'm an Ole Miss guy, so I grew up about 30 miles from Oxford in Panola County, down in Como and Sardis, and spent most of my time early when I graduated from Ole Miss. I went to Jackson, came to Memphis. Had been in Memphis for years. Then I went to Pittsburgh and then Detroit, and came back here from Detroit.
Well, you are
I'm a Southerner.
You are a treasure. We thank you so much. We'll be reading you every day,
sure do.
and we certainly hope you and your family stay healthy.
Well, thank you. Same to you and yours. And Brett, I'm a big fan of. I listen to the show all the time when I'm not in school or not in class. So I'm a big fan of Dave Woloshin and Brett Northworthy. Thank you both.
Thank you,
we
Otis.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Very kind.
That
Very
is
kind.
All right.
That is Otis Sanford. And he's been brought to you by James Davis Men's Store. The spring sale's still going on, but folks, they're very careful. They're appointment-only curbside delivery, 20% off on all the seasonal sports coats and suits. Still got that great Paul Batinley suit deal. That's 2 suits, $795. You're basically saving $400. And here's another spring incentive, $50 off any purchase of $250 or more. For years, I've been bragging about the Stant shirt system. The only place you can get those stants are at James Davis Men's Store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. Now they've got pants. 2 measurements. That's all you need. And the computer spits out an algorithm that gives you a perfect fit try-on pair of pants. They start at $168. You can get jeans. You can get dress, 5-pocket, plain front. You name it, they've got it. But we are in this pandemic, so make sure you call, make an appointment, and go see Rob Joyner or Warner or any of those that are around at James Davis Men's Store. Back with Crunch Time in a minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Computer systems in cars are the new normal, but advanced tech like touchscreen displays and sensors are really expensive to fix if and when they break. That's why you need CarShield. They have affordable monthly protection plans at CarShield that can save you thousands for a covered repair, including computers and GPS, electronics, more, with rates as low as $99 a month. You have nothing to lose. Call 800-CAR-6000 and mention the code HERD, or visit carshield.com and use the code HERD to save 10%. A deductible may apply.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Final segment brought to you by Genesis of Olive Branch. With all this technology that's going to make your car so safe, like collision avoidance assist, lane keeping assist, attention warning, blind spot collision warning, rear cross traffic collision warning, low beam, high beam assist. They last forever. They keep you safe forever. This is why we love them, every one of those Genesis cars, the G70, the 80, the 90, the new SUV. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty, and I'm getting on Lamar tomorrow. I'm going down to Kraft Road. I'm turning left, and I'm seeing Chris True, and I'll let you know what's new tomorrow at Genesis of Olive Branch. It's crunch time.
This is for all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
We'll take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Dave, we learned today in hearing D'Angelo Williams again, trust yourself, know yourself. He trusted himself. He knew what he wanted. He went to the University of Memphis, didn't get lost in the running backs at Arkansas or chasing SEC thing at Ole Miss or going to Iowa and freezing to death. He came to Memphis, and he became a legend.
He sure did. And 8,096 yards later and 61 touchdowns in the NFL, it worked out pretty darn well for him. I learned you can add Nick Saban to the list of people who had to find new ways to work while social distancing during the coronavirus pandemic. Do you know that he finally now has his own email account? Until now, his wife was doing all of the social media stuff. She said, I'm fired. I'm not going to deal with your stuff anymore. So he's now got his own email address.
Coach Saban, but now and before that, me, the last two people to get email. Could have done without the Falcons' new uniforms. Ooh, they look bad. They're not going to be any better in them. They won't win any more games in the new ones than they did in the old ones.
I haven't seen him yet. Now you got me. I'm going to have to Google that for sure. This is a bad story. Former Texas Rangers star 2010 American League MVP Josh Hamilton indicted on a felony charge for injury to a minor. And he turned himself into police. He was arrested in October for hitting and scratching his own daughter. According to Jocelyn Escobedo, who is with the ABC station in Dallas, he reports Hamilton actually told his daughter to tell the judge what a terrible dad I am to ensure she would never have to visit his home again. Wow.
What a shame. And he's had a lot of troubles, and we thought okay and had the good years and the comeback, and it just never can really get worked out for him. Keeping a close eye tonight on Golf Channel, running all the old Masters stuff. Hope the November date works. If it doesn't, we can't imagine what has happened to our country, sports and otherwise, economy and otherwise. But maybe November will work. I think the next 2 weeks we can get through that, Dave. We can start turning to a little more optimism, grounded in realism.
I hope you're right. I really, truly do. It is cool. I'm watching right now because ESPN's running that thing, and Scott Van Pelt is doing an interview, and you know he's doing it with Zoom with Jack Nicklaus, who, by the way, doesn't he look great?
Looks great.
80
years young, Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, he doesn't look 80 years old. I hope I look good, that good if I make it to 80.
You will, baby. You will.
I hope so. We want to thank.
It's the new 60, I hear.
We got to thank Otis Sanford, T.J. Reeves, Rick Coro, and what fun we had with D'Angelo Williams. We'll do it all again tomorrow. See you then. Have a great night, everyone.
February has been extended through March 31st. Hi, I'm John Conway with Conway Services. Are you considering replacing your heating and air conditioning system this spring? Conway